afternoon! Welcome, everybody. Happy Wednesday, a hump day!
Don't do that.
And a wrestling Wednesday. What, you don't like hump days?
I just missed the commercial.
Oh, yeah. What was that, a commercial? Geico? Was that Geico commercial?
I think it's a Geico commercial.
Yeah, it might have been Geico.
Yeah, the camel hump day.
Mike.
Most importantly, though, it is Wrestling Wednesday. Happy Wrestling Wednesday, everybody. Oh, yeah, brother.
It's pretty good.
It's Wrestling Wednesday.
Woo!
Oh. And fun with, I'm just going to go right off the top. We will have fun with audio today.
Hey.
Fun with audio that is wrestling related because there's a parent that is doing it the right way. 100% a parent parenting the correct way. And that will be fun with audio that we have today.
Well, they're at least doing it the right way with one thing.
No, I think this shows me enough. All I need to see. All I need to see.
Oh boy, that's gonna crater later, and that guy's parents pops up.
Well, yeah, it ultimately will.
Yeah.
But right now, a lot of material changes can happen, right? Isn't that the thing that they say during trades when trades don't happen? It's like, oh, material changes occurred, and we did not end up having the trade package that we wanted. Material changes can happen in a child's life to where that great parenting can go right out the window.
Just one quick moment. That'll happen.
That is something, though. Like, your parents always warned you about those kids that you shouldn't be hanging out with?
I was that kid, so.
You were the kid that you shouldn't hang out with?
No, I was a good kid growing up.
I don't think that I think that you told the truth and then you backtracked on that.
No, I gradually got more evil. I didn't start evil.
Oh, okay. Well, you've told plenty of stories of you being evil child.
I was ornery, not evil. There's a
Okay.
difference.
Okay.
I didn't get.
there is a big difference.
I didn't get into real trouble until I got older.
All right.
That's when I got into real trouble.
Then you got into.
Yeah. Then it was like, nope, not with him. Parents always loved me though. I always sold them a bill of goods they didn't understand.
All right. Nice.
Little Eddie Haskell over there, huh?
Yeah. Oh, he's such a good kid, and I'm like, sucker.
How do I have you fooled?
And it turns out like that's the scariest child, and you are the scariest of adults. I think that everything is tracking there in that realm. I think that mostly, carry the one. I think most of the people that my parents warned me about, I think they were hitting at like a 60% rate.
Yeah.
I mean, they were pretty good at identifying that.
They're
one.
usually pretty easy to spot.
Yeah. That other 40% boy, were they wrong. They were wrong.
Just some real road scholars.
Yeah, some guys that turned out really well, and that things are going okay for them right now. And I'm proud of those guys. I'm not going to name any names, but I'm proud of you. And you're probably listening, nodding your head along like, yeah, I pulled myself out of that. That was all right. I did a pretty good job, I think a lot of us, we have those moments in our life that we go back and we're like, oh boy, how'd I get out of that? Yikes. And here we are. We're there.
In a box,
we got out of
with
it.
microphones in front of us.
You're damn right. 503-864-6326. That's the Vancouver Ford text line. P1 Rufio, when Danny said I was that kid, this is our collective shock face. Oh, no.
Yeah. No way.
No way. We're also on youtube.com/1080am The Fan. Thank you. Chat is already lively. We will be putting a lot of you on the P1 Kings board, which resets every day. You've got to comment. And when you comment in the YouTube chat stream, we'll put you up on the board there so you can see your nice shiny YouTube handle right there on the YouTube P1 Kings and Queens. It's royalty.
Yeah, there you go.
It's royalty. All right.
I feel like kings and queens are overrated. I like dukes and duchesses. It sounds better.
Yeah. What is that? What's the difference there? I know. I don't know the whole hierarchy of the royalty.
I believe it's like cousins of the king. Is usually dukes and their queen.
That's what I'd want to be in that lane.
Right.
Like, there's a lot. Like
you're not getting assassinated there.
Prince Henry and Prince William. Yeah. Like, God, they got it tough, man.
Well, remember one of which one's the one that married
Harry?
Yeah. Kate Middleton, they like abdicated.
Oh no, that's William.
William?
No, William married Kate Middleton. You're thinking of Harry. He did. William is now
a duke, right?
Number 2 in line. No, Harry is the one that moved out of the States. He did. He married that gal from Suits.
Yeah, that's
what's her name. Kate Middleton is William's wife. Harry's wife is
the hot from Suits.
What's her name? Yeah, whatever. Yeah, he married her, and they're not even like part of the royal family
I think
anymore.
they're the Duke and Duchess.
They are now.
I
You get to keep
believe.
that title.
I think they're out of the
Yeah.
lineage, but
Yeah.
they're still technically in there. My English royalty understanding not great.
Yeah. That's the other thing too is what's their last name? Huh? Yeah, wrap your head around that one.
Yeah, because it's all first name.
Yeah. Are they like Buckingham? Because it's like the Duke of Earl, right? You're just of Earl. That's not a cool last name.
Okay, so a duke or duchess is the highest rank outside of the royal family, though
Okay.
members of the royal family are given dukedoms or duchies by tradition. For example, the Duke of Cornwall is a title reserved for the heir to the throne.
The royal family's last name is Windsor.
There you go.
That's pretty cool.
Meghan Markle. She is the
Meghan
Duchess
Markle.
of Sussex.
Oh, that's a cool one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
That's a good name.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to be like, I'm really bad with British town names, but like, you don't want to be like the Duke of Wienerville, right? That would be awful.
I mean, Liverpool.
Like-
Liverpool doesn't
Like,
sound cool. It's a big city, but it
if we
doesn't
were to
sound
just
cool.
do like Oregon, you'd be like, the Duke of Oswego. That sounds pretty cool.
I
The
would-
Duke of Boring? No, man, you don't want that.
Like Nottingham sounds good. It's obviously
Yeah,
very famous.
It sounds good.
Birmingham.
Yeah.
Birmingham, even though it's a bit of an industrial.
Yeah,
hellhole.
the Duke of Beaverton? Mm-mm.
It doesn't ring.
No.
I'd go for the Earl of Sandwich.
The Earl of Sandwich
Yes.
would be solid.
Like, that's the real one.
Norwich, Exeter. There's some good British.
Yeah.
Wolverhampton.
Now
That's
we're
a
talking.
You give the soccer team the Wolverhampton
Yeah.
Wolves.
You've got to like. I think your kid's got to be a rugby player if you're like from
Oh, yeah.
Wolverhampton. You
But I mean,
know?
there's also there's Leeds. Leeds is kind of lame.
Yeah, that is kind of lame. Dude, just do a quick Google over there of worst British town names, and then we can find out. Like,
Brighton and Hove. How often do you get a "and" in a city name?
yeah,
Brighton and Hove.
Yeah.
That's a great.
that'd be terrible.
Oh,
That'd be
see,
terrible.
I like that one.
No, I don't think you'd want that. You don't want the and in there.
It doesn't have an and, but you go down south, Central California there, and you got the old Carmel by the Sea.
Oh, hey. Look at
Okay, yeah, no, this is gonna get me fired. Penis stone.
that. Yeah, there you go. Like, yeah. I mean, it's like,
That's not going to get you fired. That's science. That's scientific.
yeah.
Wet wang.
See,
That might.
now we're talking like
Sandy balls.
how you know that is not the name of a town.
Parkland, New Hampshire.
That
100%.
okay.
Shitterton.
Okay.
Okay, do I
That's
need to
a
hit the
town.
button for that?
No, it's the name of a town.
Okay.
It's the name of a town.
I'm getting really uncomfortable.
But like that is, I think you
Sweet
know
Nancy
you're.
Moses. We still have 2 hours and 51 minutes
Yeah.
to go here. Okay?
Okay.
Don't give me a heart attack yet. You need
Now,
somebody pushing
now
these buttons.
you need to just stop looking at those British towns before you get in trouble. But
There's
you're
one on
going-
here I
okay,
will not say.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
please don't.
But if you go down this list, I think you know you're standing with the royal family if you're the Duke of whatever town, if you're the Duke of the Penis Stone or whatever name that town was. That is where I think you really find out, like, God, they really don't like me, do they?
That
You know?
the one that I have on the screen is the worst one by far.
I'm not even looking at it. I'm not going to look at it.
It is the word grope.
Okay. Yeah.
And
oh,
then
all
a
right.
very,
Okay,
very, very,
Danny,
very-
you literally just said you didn't want to say it.
No.
So don't say
I
it.
want people to understand how bad this word
No,
is.
you're
A word-
okay.
A word that you never use. That word.
Oh, my
grope
gosh.
that.
All right. Okay.
That is a name.
All right.
Are we the day after that day currently? Shall we see you on the next one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, hey, there
Yes.
you go. I was
Yeah.
I was thinking like the 5th?
Yeah.
Grope the 5th.
I did the same thing. I was like,
Yeah,
did
no.
a lot of
all
that in
right.
college.
All right. Yeah, no. Whoa. Oh, okay. Gotcha. I was like,
Fifth.
whoa.
The fifth.
All right. Yikes. This
I don't know how many parts she got.
Wednesday's already sideways, boys, and here we go. God. It's a little talk about the royal family, and now we have Danny's last show.
Yeah. See you later, guys. Bye.
Well, this started out with a bang. Royal family. Duke of Windsor. No.
I mean, you
yeah,
know,
Duke of Windsor.
it's
It's a solid
it
name.
sounds
Pretty
pretty
strong.
uppity.
So are they just named after towns then? because Windsor's a town,
Yeah.
castle,
Yeah.
all that stuff. All right.
Duchess of Sussex is a good one.
Duke of Sussex is
Yeah,
good too.
yeah.
I think I'd mess. I think we need to start American royalty. I'll just throw it out there. You know.
Go full Family Guy. Annex your land.
Yeah.
And it's its own independent.
Well, and so all these two, you got like the
I'd
Duke.
like to be the Duke of unincorporated Washington County.
Yeah, there you go. You got the Duke and the Earl, and how many of these others have turned into like just names? Like Earl is a name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Duke is a name.
Earl's a strong name. You don't see many Earls lately. You ever
Yeah.
seen a little kid running around lately named Earl?
No.
No, I think My Name is Earl put a stop to that.
Nah, dude.
Great show.
Earl is a solid name. Like if I have a buddy
You ever
who
seen a weak
named
guy
his,
named Earl?
his kid's middle name is Earl, and I'm like, dude, I'd just start going
Just go
by
by
Earl.
Earl.
I'd go by Earl. If you see it as like a middle name every now and then, Earl, strong name, need to bring it back. Need to bring it back. It's what's the guy, the old Steelers and Browns offensive coordinator when they had Carl Nassib on the Browns and they were on Hard Knocks? He's like, who names their baby Carl? Like, you ever seen a little kid named Carl? Who looks at a baby and says Carl? Like, that is Earl to me as well. But we need to bring it back because
also-
Greatest Generation, a lot of Earls around there. My
What
wife's grandpa's name was Earl.
One of my kids, she's got a Dennis in her class.
Unfortunately, this
Dennis?
Dennis.
I got a buddy named Dennis,
Dennis
but
the Menace.
he may be he's like probably the youngest Dennis that I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
don't see that much anymore.
Yeah. No.
A one that's been ruined by the current generation with naming their kids this way too much. Baron.
Baron?
Yeah, there's a lot of Barons out there. I know a lot of people have kids named Baron.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got nothing.
But no, but
I've never met a Baron
but
either.
a Baron, like as a Duke or an Earl, like
Gotcha.
a Baron, like
Ooh.
that's
As a title of nobility.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it kind of ties into the whole
we
Dune
go.
thing because they got the Baron in there.
Well, weren't the World War One? Who are the Red
The
Barons?
Red Barons?
Yeah.
Red
Yeah.
Barons. Yeah, the early
Snoopy.
prop. Yeah, Snoopy was a Red Baron.
Yeah, it's a little weird. They made him the little Weiser Schmick.
Excuse me?
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bad guys. Not the good guys. And then we had a pizza named after it. I mean,
Yeah, we
was there
Maybe that was a little indication of like.
do you name your kid?
Hmm.
Or does this mean like stoners from the 90s started naming their kids Baron? So then we're going to have like a lot of Totinos rolling through later.
Hey, Hot Pocket, get over here.
Hot Pocket.
Because Totinos were more of our generation, like rolling through like the early 2000s.
Look, Totino's is that feels like appropriation. I don't think we can do that. Hot Pocket, the whites, we can pull that off.
Hey, Bagel Dog, leave your brother alone.
I like that. We're going to have like a real little Baron and Totino coming up right through. Hot Pocket. Now we're just careening towards idiocracy.
Yeah,
And there we go. And that's how we come
It's
full
what-
circle.
like we've been doing that for a while.
It's what plants crave.
All right. 503-864. My dad brought up something too. By the way, I saw my dad this morning. We went out to breakfast. And he said, yeah, you probably shouldn't. I don't know how names came up, but he goes, yeah, you probably should like just know you can never live in the Midwest. Like, you know, Big Ten country, Oregon going to the Big Ten. Going to the Midwest, you may get a lot of, you named after a clown? And I was like, what? Apparently, we all know Bozo the Clown. In the Midwest, TV show, Dusty the Clown.
Ah.
It was a big one. I was like, and you still named me that?
Thanks, Dad.
We didn't think you'd spend much time there. That's
We
all.
still went down that road of like, hey, yeah, no, this is the name. Like, I did not know this. I've gotten Dusty Rhodes,
Yeah.
which I'm down with.
That's fine.
I've gotten Dusty Springfield if somebody's wanting to insult me, right? Still, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you know.
Whatever. I'm all right with
Never
it.
gotten a dusty fart?
No.
No. That's an expression in the Midwest too.
Dusty Bottoms.
Dusty Bottoms. I've gotten a lot of Three
Three
Amigos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
but
a slept-on movie.
I've never gotten Dusty the Clown, which is, I don't fit. I mean, if the shoe fits, put it on. And we're there.
You got a red nose hiding somewhere over there.
All right. Let's get to this radio program, shall we? What?
I'm just looking at Dusty the Clown, and it's looks like a Jack in the Box. Kind of
Really?
deal. Yeah.
Oh, great. That's nightmare fuel. Fantastic. Great. Now I won't be able to sleep like
Enjoy that one.
ever again. Yep. I don't think I'll be able to sleep ever again. All right. We've got a lot of sports for you today. The Blazers bring in the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight. Chet Holmgren's going to be in town.
Yes.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is going to be in town.
Hopefully everyone's healthy and ready to go.
How do we feel about that?
It's going to go very bad for Portland.
No. Are people healthy and
Yeah,
ready
it sounds
to
like
go?
everybody's going to go. So,
Oh.
well, not for the Blazers, but for the Thunder.
Oh, well, no, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, no,
like,
no. I was talking about, no, Scoot is out.
Like, I'm asking, are we going to see the battle axe just wielded at the Blazers' head, or
Yes,
are we going to
100%.
see?
Yeah, no, it's going to go sideways.
Yeah,
Okay.
this could be over after 12.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. But,
Got to get my bets.
I think DA is going to be probably game time.
Okay, with the hand.
Yeah.
Scoot.
Scoot is done workouts. He's on the floor again, so he's out tonight. I think it's probably coin toss Friday, and then maybe Saturday.
Okay, Saturday. Friday. Heat? Hawks.
No, Raptors.
Raptors Saturday. Raptors are Saturday. And
Friday,
who
Rockets.
cares? Rockets, maybe Scoot. All right, so they're getting okay-ish. DeAndre Ayton's going to be a big one tonight. Because I cringe to think of what
Yeah, it's gonna be
Chet
tough
may do.
to Dwop.
Well,
Yeah.
he's listed as doubtful. Yes, DeAndre.
Yeah, he was doubtful.
Yes, yeah.
He'll be game time. He'll be game time.
So we got that going for us.
At least he's not out.
I
There,
think
there, there was an off chance that he played in Minnesota. I think if I'm still under 50% on him going tonight, but I think there's a chance he plays.
So the spread is 13.5. Do we suppose that's is that the spread at the end of the first?
No, it won't be that bad right away.
Are we sure?
Again, here's where I'm going with this.
Telling you lines like that, man.
Lines like that are there because the Oklahoma City Thunder know.
Yes,
They know.
but also
They got a stink on them though from
well, yeah.
what happened in LA.
May I remind you of 139 to 77?
don't think that the Blazers don't remember.
But that is the other one too, where I honestly believe this is what happened Monday night with the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah, they
Anthony Edwards knew they were playing the Blazers.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't show up for the start of the game for God's sakes, and played like it the rest of the way.
they after round and found out.
And that game was a lot closer. And there's that other time around. The Blazers were embarrassed by the Thunder.
Yeah.
The last time that they met up. So
So I and don't think that they don't know that.
money line, okay. Stay away.
Stay away from spreads.
Stay away
Stay
from
away
the
from
other.
spreads. Double digit spreads
Yeah.
are
Well-
they're double digit spreads are nasty at this
Yeah.
time of year.
13.5 is
It's still
because now it's also preservation mode where you
Mm-hmm.
get that lead and you sit there and you go, all right, we'll see the accordion happen where it goes out and then
Yep.
it comes back in. We'll be okay with it. We just need to stay above water, tread that water, and rest some guys if we need to.
exactly.
All right. All right, that's talking Blazers. We got that out of the way. Where we got to start, though, knowing your lane and staying in it. Sometimes you got to get back over to the right. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
I was ornery, not evil.
Wrestling Wednesday, baby. John Cena in the building making an appearance.
I want to see him do it in Mandarin.
Bosses came in, yelled at Danny for the last segment. Not yet. That didn't happen. That didn't happen yet.
I was going to say, did I miss that?
Yet. No.
It's coming.
Boss needs to catch up on the segment.
You know, some things that we have been...
An Odyssey app.
Boy, you ain't wrong. How many times I get the, hey, why are you guys still talking about this? And it's like, oh, you had to take a phone call and you came back after 20 minutes and it just picks up right where you left off. And we haven't been talking about the same thing for a half hour. It's just that your app is just picking up and you're now behind.
You're now behind.
You're now behind.
That's how this goes.
I get a lot of angry messages in that realm where I'm like, I don't know.
They pop up on the text line. Why are you guys still talking about this?
Don't know how to tell you to fast forward. But it's a cautionary tale.
There you go.
Now you know. Knowledge is power. We need the more you know. I have that. We have that drop somewhere. We talk about this quite often when we're going through the head coaching carousel in both college and the NFL. There is this idea that there are certain guys that don't want to be head coaches but are really damn good at what they do. And when Chip Kelly stepped away from being the head coach at UCLA to be the offensive coordinator at Ohio State, a lot of eyebrows were raised. And there was a lot of questions because that doesn't seem like the logical step. But we're at a pivot point in college athletics where the rules of being a head coach have changed so dramatically that I don't know how long we are actually going to have a play caller be a head coach any longer in college football. Because of the administrative side, everything that goes along with being a head football coach now, it is just so different. And Chip Kelly, as Ohio State was opening up spring ball, he addressed his reasoning as to why he stepped aside and is now just an OC.
It started when we were preparing for our bowl game. Ryan Gunderson, who's a great quarterback coach, left to go to Oregon State as the coordinator, so he wasn't there. So I actually coached the quarterbacks during the bowl game, and I just started to think, like, I hadn't actually coached a position since 2008. And then I think my wife remarked, she's like, I haven't seen you this happy in a long time. And to me, the best part of football is football. And so you got to do football and not do some of the things that involve with the head coaching deal. And I had a chance after we beat Boise in the bowl game, and as we started recruiting, just to kind of think about what that experience was like. And then I get to make the decision on what my future is going to be. And so what do I want to do? So I started to look into, is there an opportunity? And it would have been the right spot to go somewhere and just coach a position again and be back with that group. Because I think as a head coach, you sit in on position meetings, but then you're always getting pulled out. And there's other things that are involved with being a head coach. And I think it's more of a CEO operation right now.
Chip Kelly has awareness that a lot of coaches don't, because a lot of coaches, they want the power of running the program.
That comes with that, yes.
He is a guy that I don't think Chip Kelly really has anything to prove as a head coach anymore.
He doesn't give a rip about the power stuff. He wants to play football, coach football.
And I appreciate that awareness out of Chip. Like, there's a lot of people that have knocked Chip Kelly for stepping away from UCLA, and there's a lot of blame being put on UCLA as the problem for why Chip stepped away. And I do think that does play a role in it, the fact that their collective is not up to snuff with the rest of college football's powerhouses.
Chip messed around, though.
The fact that you have a school that, being in LA, still doesn't matter who the head coach has been, they have not got over the hump with consistent recruiting classes
in quite
time and time again. And you saw Chip Kelly just say, I know what my lane is and I know where I want to be, and that is a position coach and just a guy who can coach football and not put up with the rest of the BS. Because college football coaching now is so much more than just the X's and O's.
Yeah, and I think the big part of that is that I don't mean this as a negative. Most people aren't functionally aware enough to make that association, to know what they actually want. The reason it stands out with Chip and be like, oh, he just doesn't want to deal with this, blah, 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 it's looked at as a negative. So much of stuff is looked at as a negative because you don't want, like, you understand what you want. That's got to be the most freeing thing known to man, is knowing exactly what it is you want. And I think you're seeing coaches, particularly the smarter coaches that have been successful, go, and it has less to do with not wanting to deal with stuff and knowing what they want to deal with. And so much of what we're hearing from Chip Kelly, and we're now hearing about Nick Saban, is about football and is about building relationships with kids. Those are the things that seem to matter to those guys. There is the new crop of coaches, and this isn't anything negative, but they understand, and we've talked about this for a couple weeks, the CEO mentality. It's not about football. It's about running a business, and the business is football.
And I think that you bring up the Nick Saban. If you haven't read it, ESPN has a kind of the transition period between when Nick Saban decided he was going to step away from Alabama to hiring process of Kalen DeBoer, how it all went down, and what went into Nick Saban's decision. It's long, but there's some glaring like anecdotes out of there that you sit there and you go, what is going to be the coach-player relationship moving forward in college football? Because the landscape, it truly has changed so much that you see the old guys and the new guys are on completely different planets, and you're starting to see that separation. And I think that question of what does the college football coach look like moving forward is a really interesting question when you hear what Chip Kelly said right there, because there's two different kinds of coaches in football that are head coaches. There is the CEO type, and then there's the football guy. And one of those guys is dying. We'll get to that after Rust with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan, the shorthanded Trailblazers start a 6-game homestand tonight with the Oklahoma City Thunder in town. 7 o'clock tip on Root Sports. Malcolm Brogdon, Scoot Henderson, Shaden Sharp, all still out. DeAndre Ayton is doubtful. Meanwhile, Jeremy Grant, Matisse Thybulle, Tumani Kamara are all questionable. The Blazers are 13.5-point underdogs. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reporting the Pistons are signing free agent center Taj Gibson to a 10-day contract. Over in the NFL, ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the Broncos giving Russell Wilson permission to immediately begin talking to other teams ahead of the start of free agency next week. The team announced Monday they will release Wilson after the start of the new league year on March 13th. And NFL Network's Tom Pelissero reporting the Commanders signing free agent tight end Zach Ertz to a 1-year deal worth up to $5 million. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
If you can't find the humor in today's NBA, you're doing it wrong. Heat Check with Trista Crick on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes!
I'm not your boy toy.
Heartbreak Kid, baby.
I'm just a sexy boy.
Tell me this doesn't put a smile on your face.
It puts a smile on the face. And it's
A grown man all roided out of his gourd, just sliding into a ring in leather pants to this song? You kidding me? Nothing's more masculine than that.
I love the voices on the songs too. It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
They call me sexy.
You know the last thing I want to be called? A sexy boy. You're just a sexy boy.
I think it depends on the setting.
I love the Attitude Era.
I'll take what I can get.
So great.
That's where I'm at with
Just
this.
look at you, sexy boy. All right, we're talking Chip Kelly. And Chip Kelly at Ohio State spring ball, we played the audio of him identifying kind of where he came to this decision that he wanted to be a position coach and a coordinator again. It's what he was great at, whether it was when he was at New Hampshire or when he came to the University of Oregon, and his development in squeezing really the best that he could out of quarterbacks, especially when he was at Oregon. Going to a national championship game with Darren Thomas as your quarterback, pretty successful. And they kind of were breaking the mold of the breakneck pace, and it was a style that people weren't accustomed to. But Chip has always been a great position coach and play caller. And he wanted to get back to those roots because when Gunderson left for Oregon State, he was like, I got to coach quarterbacks, and he loved it. Mm-hmm. He also added this to his presser yesterday. And I think that this goes to the larger point of you have the football guys and the CEOs of college football. And this is the decision you have to make.
John Lennon, when he was a little kid, that had an assignment of what do you want to be when you grow up? And he said, I want to be happy. And then his teacher said, I don't think you understand the assignment. And his mom said, I don't think you understand life. So I just want to be happy. And I'm really happy coaching a position, really happy to be at this place. You know, it would have taken a special place for me to leave UCLA because I love those players and I love that coaching staff. But to be here with Ryan, I had a great relationship. I've known Ryan since he was a little kid. So I think a lot of things just fell into place that way.
When I heard that, I thought of this morning when I was reading the reasoning why Nick Saban left the Alabama football program and why he decided this was the time for him to leave. It was one of those situations where Saban, I guess, after last year, went to Greg Byrne, the AD at Alabama, and he said, the time is coming. The time is coming where I'm going to be stepping away. And he said that it came to a head this year after what happened after losing the Rose Bowl to Michigan in the semifinal of the CFP. He said that he wasn't just upset at the loss itself, but the way that his team handled the loss. Mm-hmm. He said that there was a lot of pouting, a lot of like throwing of helmets, things that he said is not the way that the messaging over his 17 years at Alabama had been consistent with.
Yes.
Which was, we do things a certain way, we do things the right way. It's about development. It's about, tracking towards graduation, even if you're not graduating.
Sure.
Tracking towards graduation in academics and becoming a player that is ready for the NFL as well. But all of those things, he said that his messaging was starting to fall flat and on deaf ears because when he was bringing guys in for the exit interviews at the end of the season, he was hearing a lot of how much playing time am I going to get? How much money am I going to get in NIL? And those were the main focuses of a majority of the players that he was bringing in.
It was not about how do I get better? What do I need to do to get on the field? Look, this is going to sound old fuddy-duddy. And of course, Nick Saban, 72 years old, is going to kind of ring that bell, so to speak. But he's also not wrong. There is a transition, and we are always going to push forward with stuff. But when we do, no matter what it is, whether it's college football, life, there's always going to be changes. But you need to have a lens, an eye towards the future and the past. You know, the old adage of those who don't know their history are doomed to repeat it. And you are seeing that there is again, it sounds so ridiculous, but there is a selfish player that is taking over sports, not just college sports, sports.
It's the professionalization of sports.
But even at the highest levels, it is The team concept is dying. It is an individualization. It is a me. The reason the team guys stand out more so now, the reason the Mike Conleys of the world are so sought after now is because it's becoming increasingly rare.
And to that point, I see, yes, there is a me aspect of it.
But
is
not an inherently bad thing.
I also say that I think the great teams across, especially football in general, that is pushed aside. That was not the case at Washington. It was not the case at Michigan. It was not the case at Oregon this year either. I think if you're looking at the programs that are succeeding, I think it's less about that idea, and that mentality has always been there. The idea, and we were talking about this yesterday, right? The fact that the professionalization of sports with Dartmouth's, athletics,
the
unionizing, and it's like the flares are being shot into the air of, hey, here come pro sport. They're going to be considered employees. I think what is changing for guys like Nick Saban, that mentality and that thinking has always been there. It is just players can now be forthright and open with their coaches, because what he said was, players were saying, what assurances do I have that I'm going to be playing next year? How much money am I going to get in NIL? Those are all discussions that never happened up front with a coach, but now there is a little bit of leverage for players that say, hey, I do know my value, and I can have these conversations with my head coach now. And he said it to ESPN. He said, and I think that it's pretty interesting when you look at Nick Saban of all people. He said it's not wrong. I'm just saying that's never been what we're about. It's not bad. It's not wrong. It's just not what we've been about.
I'm with him until that last line, because
it's not why we had success through the years. And I agree with him on that. And that's why I think we're seeing this change and this shift happening, is that I think what we're having with a guy like Nick Saban is he's sitting there going, my message that has been consistent over the course of my career, which has been wildly successful, especially the 17 seasons at Alabama, has been consistent and the same. But the times have changed so much with the transfer portal and NIL. And when he says it's not bad, it's not wrong, it's just different. I think that's where you're going to see why you're seeing Jim Harbaugh jump from college to the NFL, why Chip Kelly leaves and goes in as a coordinator now, why Nick Saban is stepping away and into retirement. It's because of the fact that these guys that have been wildly successful, they've got to reinvent themselves in totality to make sure that they can survive. And that's why guys like Kirby Smart are so successful, is because they weren't ingrained in that non-portal, non-NIL era. Kirby Smart got in as a head coach before that era really took hold and took off, but everybody saw the writing on the wall. And so what we're seeing with the newer head coaches or the younger head coaches is this idea that we have got to approach, and our messaging just has to be different. Not to say that you can't create that team atmosphere like Kalen DeBoer did up at Washington while still having NIL and still having the transfer portal and not having those guys leave. The team aspect is still there. You just have to navigate it completely differently. And when some of the greatest coaches of all times have to step away because they can't survive in that atmosphere, we see it in the business world all the time. Right?
It's exactly the same thing, and that's what I was saying. I'm not saying this is a bad thing.
Yeah,
the inherent quote unquote selfishness. That's why I kind of rolled my eyes, because it's not. It's always been there, but there is it is becoming more insulated selfishness.
Yeah, and what you're saying is you kind of laugh at that. It's never been what they've been all about.
But all that they've ever been about.
The paying of players, he's never had to deal with it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's never had to deal with that, and now he does. And so for Saban, it was, I've had my run. It's been an incredible run. I'm 72. I got nothing else to prove. I'm out. For Chip Kelly, it was, I still have so much football left in me. How can I be just as happy? And oh, by the way, when your coordinators can now make $1.5 million or $2 million, makes it a lot easier.
It's a nice little way to make things work.
Easier, less pressure, less BS to deal with. It's it's really fascinating to kind of see how quickly the world is changing. And when you have guys like Dan Lanning and when you have, your Kirby Smarts, Ryan Day too, in this regard, as a head coach, your job is, and this is going to be an interesting one with Lincoln Riley, who's a play caller.
Mhm.
And there's so much more that he has to deal with.
And he does not like to deal with the BS at USC. He is both on and off record. He does not deal with like the alumni. Well, he's starting to deal with the alumni meetings and the booster stuff. And that's, I have one eyebrow raised to that because as a play caller at the school, they love him. As a coach there, they love him. But before the stuff started to really shift, he was already like, I don't know.
That is going to be how he navigates this because it's not optional anymore.
No,
it's mandatory that you are the CEO of the business that is your football program.
Because it's a $1 billion entity.
And the thing that you hear repeatedly about Lanning and at practices, what he does is he bounces around. Dude has a microphone with him. And so as they're pumping in the music and all that stuff, he can have a microphone, and if he sees something on one side of the field, he's not with any particular position group. He just bounces, and he is all over the field. And if he sees something, boom, he can get the attention. He goes over. You're coaching as you're overseeing everything. If there's something that just isn't right,
it's oversight as opposed to micromanaging.
That's where you're at, and you're kind of just stepping in and being like, hey, we know what this is. And you heard Chip Kelly say, bouncing around meetings. That was part of his first clip on why it wasn't that he got to ever stay ingrained in one thing.
No.
He had to bounce from one position group to the other, both sides of the football, then getting pulled out and doing those administrative things that no football guy
do the
wants
meet and
to
greet
do.
with the donor and take all the pictures and grin and bear it. That's the thing. It's like, I genuinely believe that in some schools are already doing this. There needs to be a general manager that deals with that.
There absolutely are, but when you're talking about boosters, when you're talking about
they want to talk to coach.
You want to talk to coach because it only gets you so far. And that I think every school, they do have a GM. They just name him a different. He has a different title, whether it's chief of operations or I'd rather be a chief than a general. I'd rather be a chief of something.
No, CEO. That's C-suite. It's different.
Yeah, but you have all of these guys, and this is where you go, how does the football guy survive as a head coach? And it's got to be it's a different wiring and a different framing of what a head coach does now. Because a head coach for when Nick Saban was coming up, that's a different planet than a head coach for young coaches now. Whether you're Dan Lanning or Trent Bray or Jake Dickert, it is a different world that you're living in. And so you have to rewire what that process is, because I think the play caller is dying, and the guy who, and it's going to start with young coaches coming up, being used to that being your normal.
I also think that that's going to be a prohibitive in a sense, where that the thing that organizations, schools, whatever you want to call them, going forward are going to look for are the football guy. The rarity is the football guy, because you get these guys all of a sudden that are more businessmen than football coaches, because you hear that in the business world, where you get people that you see either hostile takeovers or a reshaping of a business plan. I worked for a company that got bought out by a company that was a venture capitalist firm, and the entire vision of the company
the
changed.
Widget makers.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like that inherent knowledge, that corporate knowledge fades away. And that's the thing that becomes the most valuable thing of a franchise, of an industry. And so I think that might end up being the most valuable quote unquote commodity is the football guy, both on the coaching side and on the player side. The player that just wants to shut up and do football, the coach that just wants to shut up and do football. Those are going to be the things that are the rare commodities, I think, in college sports going forward.
It's a different dynamic. And that's the thing about it, though. In order to become that, you're not going to have some guy just coming off the streets with no football coaching experience.
No.
It's going to be the guy who, the thing about being a college coach especially is you've got to work from the analyst or the GA to the analyst to the position coach to a coordinator, and then work your way up, but always having in the back of your mind that when I get to where I want to be, everything that I have done is just going to be pushed aside towards everything is management moving forward.
So you build towards that, so you have the foundation of knowing what it is, and then you don't use it.
Ultimately, I honestly I think it's going to be good for college football, because how petrified are universities that my young hot coordinator is just going to be plucked away to be a head coach?
Yeah.
I think that we're going to start seeing a lot of these young coaches are going, grass isn't always greener. Grass is not
That
always
realization.
greener. Staying as a coordinator, if I love football and I just love coaching, that's what I
And
want
there's
to
going
do.
to be money in it.
There's going to be a lot of money in it. So, all right, parenting done right next on The Fan. Look at this, the Iron Sheik on Wrestling Wednesday.
Yeah, I don't think you can get away with the Iron Sheik today.
No.
The jabroni or the Bubba?
The what?
The jabroni Or the Bubba.
Or the Bubba. Yeah. No, the Iron Sheik is not one. Now, was the Iron Sheik one of... We had a lot of cultural appropriation, but I believe he was Iranian, right? Wasn't he Iranian?
I believe so.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
He was Iranian.
This wasn't the short circuit.
Yeah, that wasn't
brownface.
That wasn't complete cultural appropriation. He just leaned into being the heel. And we needed a lot of heels back in the day. And the Iron Sheik was one of the all-time greats. Parenting done right. On a Wrestling Wednesday, it's only appropriate that we play this clip because this comes from a Little League game where we have a little leaguer, and he's in his little Dodger blue, and his team looks like they are probably not very good and needed a pep talk for the ages. And this young man harnessed Miracle on Ice and Ric Flair and put them together quite magically.
All right, listen up. It all starts tonight. We must win. One inning at a time, one game at a time, all the way to the championship. And when we become champions, we become swearing, diamond ring blaring, kick, woo, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun. And I'm having a hard time keeping these alligators down. Woo!
Woo! Look at that little kid. That is the greatest pump-up speech from a Little Leaguer I've ever heard.
Give me 2 claps and Ric Flair will.
Woo! Woo! The fact that he went from Miracle on Ice just right into Ric Flair, I'm here for. I'm here for all of this little kid. And I hope that the final score on that, I know that some parent out there is like going to post the score on the Game Score app or whatever. They're going to be like, and the Dodgers lost to the Reds 15-2. Because
it's too good.
Yeah, there's no way that young man ended up giving the pump-up speech that got them where they needed to be. Because when you're 10 years old and you're giving a speech like that, it's because you have the awareness and you have noticed your team just is not good and does not belong on that field with the other kids. And so you're going to go out there and you're going to get it damn done. Give them the pump-up speech, and that'll be the best thing they see all night. And it was.
Hey, you know what, man? There's like we talked about when we had Brooke on. Sometimes the entertainment, when the team's struggling a little bit, it matters.
Yeah,
you gotta have something else for the kids.
Calabro dropped another one during the Timberwolves game. You mentioned John Krasinski is a writer.
Yes,
covers the Timberwolves.
Yeah, longtime writer there.
He dropped a Michael. Did you hear his Michael Scott officiating?
Yes.
Dunder Mifflin's
yes.
regional manager Michael Scott
worked that one in seamlessly.
I got a good little chuckle out of that, and that's what I need for my Blazers broadcast moving forward. Because games like what we're going to see, I don't know, tonight, it could get a little hairy, it could get a little ugly. Just give me the chuckles all around. But that kid right there, his parents are doing something right. He's watched a lot of wrestling. It's been a lot of 80s and 90s wrestling is what he's got WWF, not WWE in his bones. And I think that's where you got to start is are all of them, are they still on Peacock? All the wrestling? They used to be like, you used to find all of the Royal Rumbles, all the WrestleManias from back in the day were on there.
I think they're on there, but they also just struck that new deal, so I don't know.
It'd be a damn shame because those old wrestling promos, one, very cancelable.
Oh, God, yes.
But also,
anything pre-2000 is like grounds for early termination.
Shocking from an organization run by Vince McMahon for decades.
Just got out, got a $400 million parachute, sold his shares. Nice he was just forced out, I think, yesterday or the day before.
Nice work if
but
you can get it.
Yeah, I mean, he got $400 million in stock options in WWE.
I'd rather take the Russell Wilson $39 million golden parachute because everything that's come with Vince McMahon's is just nasty. Like he's just Vince McMahon.
He's a dirty old man.
Bad person.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, just bad teammate.
I mean,
of what we know right now, just a bad teammate.
Yeah.
Not as bad of a person.
Not great. Not great. Not bad to do. Does a lot of charity work, which
does a ton of charity work.
Which I'm always grateful for.
Great stepfather.
Yeah.
According to his social media, at least. And normal dad too, and your standard dad and your stepdad.
You want to fight with Future?
I do. Why do I want to fight with Future?
Gassing up Russ as a stepdad.
Well, I didn't say he was the real Data Futures kid, which some have.
Whatever.
That was a tough internet day for Future. All right, let's get to the NFL. We'll start hour number 2. Surprise release in the NFL, but when you read between the lines, it shouldn't shock you. Danny and Dusty on the Fan. Dolly Parton of our station, Jeff Rust over there. Welcome into hour number 2.
Instead of cracking my man boobs.
Why would you say that?
And the
Golly.
the words of the great Dave Chappelle, these are great New York boobs. That sketch was hilarious.
I don't remember that one.
He goes full game show, like Ramblin' Rod style, and then he's got a big old ribbon out in Times Square. And any like big rack that comes by gets him to come over, and I just want to tell you, you have great New York boobs. And he like puts the ribbon on their shoulder.
Doctor said I need a backiotomy.
Yeah, did that, and also did it to a younger woman who's very attractive, who was very busty, and he did it.
Can't get away with that anymore.
Well, no, you can't. Again, cancelable. But she kind of freaks out and goes, "My dad is right here." And then Chappelle just leans right into it. He goes, "Sir, you raised great New York boobs."
Okay. That's Jeff Rust, apparently.
Yeah. I was giving him a ribbon, or you were giving him the ribbon. Great New York boobs.
I was. I didn't.
Yeah.
I just
The
said it's
Dolly
the
Parton
dollar.
yeah.
He's saying the 9 to 5, 1 o'clock open. But apparently, I gave him a New York Boob Award. All right.
Wouldn't be the first time I've been called a boob.
No, that's an insult that's gone away. That's an insult that's gone away, and it's harmless. You should bring that one
You
back.
boob.
All right. An unexpected release in the NFL today. Jordan Poyer released from the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. It's kind of weird because, they tried to fight to bring him back last year.
Yeah. Well, because of his value. But now you have a 32-year-old safety in Jordan Poyer who his career has been incredible. Think about Poyer in just where he started as a consensus All-American at Oregon State. He was one of the best safeties in all of college football. And he ends up being a 7th-round pick. He was the 218th pick in the draft. Poyer was.
Wow.
And he ends up going to Cleveland. He's an all-pro. He's an all-pro in Buffalo. Signs a big deal in Buffalo. And the young dude from Astoria, former Kawapa League.
There you go.
Offensive and defensive player of the year.
It's a great. Say it again. What league?
Kawapa.
God, it's a fun name.
Yeah, the Coastie schools.
Yeah.
But at 32, he had restructured his deal last offseason. He's going to be 33 heading into this year. And you look at the Buffalo Bills, they're one of the teams just like the Miami Dolphins where they were getting up last year was their run.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in salary cap hell. So you have $5.7 million in cap space that they will create by releasing Jordan Poyer. Another guy who he may not have a ton of tread on the tires, but what he's got, you can work with. You've got Siran Neal, who they also released, clears up $3 million in cap space. And then you've got, they converted Rasul Douglas, $3.5 million of his deal into a bonus. So that clears up another $2.5 million. What Buffalo's trying to do is just weasel their way under the cap so they can sustain having their core together. And what that looks like, Lord knows, because Stephon Diggs, we know how disgruntled he was at the end of the 2022-23 season.
When he led the league in catches and targets.
And then this year we saw it rear its ugly head again, and things seem to calm down as they usually do with Stephon Diggs. But could Diggs be on the way out? And now you're starting to say, all right, what do we look like moving forward with Josh Allen in his prime, still playing at a ridiculously high level? How do we build a contender and keep a contender around him? The big problem with Buffalo is that they were aging on the defensive side of the football. And this is a move to where you see a lot of free agents that are going to be out there. A lot of guys are going to want to hitch their wagon to a contending quarterback. And Buffalo's pretty much hoping that they can become that one of those teams.
And right on cue, the Bills are releasing center Mitch Morse to save $8.5 million this season. They're going to move Connor McGovern to center. And then who they just re-signed, David Edwards, is in line to start at guard. And 30 seconds later, the Bills are releasing wide receiver and return specialist Deontay Hardy.
See, this is a team that's $24 million over the cap. Over the cap.
Uh-huh. Meanwhile, the Commanders have over $100 million.
This is what happens when you pay your young quarterback and the new deal kicks in. Josh Allen equates for $47 million of their salary cap. Stephon Diggs is $27 million of it. And then this is that aging defense. Von Miller is on the books for $23.7 million.
Whole lot of million.
23.7. But you look at the way the NFL is kind of built out, that is a great example of a roster and how money is divvied up in the NFL. Those three guys right there.
Quarterback, wide receiver, pass rusher.
They equate for just under $100 million of their cap. Josh Allen at 47. You've got Stephon Diggs at 27. And you have Von Miller at 23.7. That right there, those three guys are $100 million. Everybody else, you're picking up scraps. So when you have a guy who's in that tweener range and is getting a little long in the tooth, boom,
Boom, gone.
he's the cap casualty because you're not going to be releasing guys like Deion Dawkins, who's one of the best left tackles. The interesting one for me is you got Tre'Davious White, who that dude was one of the best corners in the NFL. Back-to-back seasons, he gets injured. He's on their books for $16 million. Like, this is the issue with how much injury luck goes into being successful in sustained success in the National Football League. Injury luck plays a massive role, and you can't roll the dice.
No, you got to get it when you can get it.
When you have an aging roster, you cannot roll the dice.
No.
And that's where Buffalo's at right now, man. And this is going to be a really interesting year for Buffalo.
This is parity kicking in. This is what it looks like.
Absolutely. Buffalo and Miami are the two teams that are up against it. And then you look at teams like, how important is a guy like Brett Veach at Kansas City, their general manager? They're figuring out ways to get that wiggle room. Your general manager, look at the cap hell that the Chargers are in after Tom Telesco's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to make these tough decisions, and you have a window of like 3 years that you say, this is it. This is where we have to be in win now mode because our books are going to be an absolute disaster after that 3-year window.
I mean, it's that's the way the CBA is built, is to encourage these splurges and these pushes, but it also keeps the ebb and flow. It's the churn of the NFL. That's why you see the rise and fall of teams, and that's what makes dynasties like the Patriots and Chiefs stand out. Eventually, they have to pay.
Yep, kick the can down the road as long as you can.
But, I mean, the Chargers, they spend a ton of money.
Yeah.
The Dolphins, they spend a ton of money. The Bills, they spend a ton of money. The unfortunate part of this is for the Bills, they've run up against it twice. Where in reality, they were, if not the best team, they were the second best team in football. If they go to the Super Bowl, they're winning the Super Bowls, in my opinion. And in both those cases, they just boop. And people are like, oh, it's, they spent all this money for nothing. No, they spent all this money for the push.
This is
and
where
the football gods just didn't smile their way.
This is where the ring culture, we define greatness based on rings.
Yeah. And that's not how it works.
It is not always the case. No. But we're so conditioned to it now. We can't go back. You can't go back from it.
It's the same thing we were talking about with college sports. There's an inherent selfishness in fans where if it's not everything, I don't want it.
I think, and I believe this, I hope that the way that college football is viewed, now that we have 12 and then eventually short order 14-team playoff,
that getting there is enough.
Making a playoff game matters again.
Yes.
Like, just getting to the playoff,
matters.
That is a successful
Yes.
season. And that should be viewed as a successful season because it was the New Year's Six Bowls were the biggest deal.
Yeah.
Right? Back when it was the BCS and before that, if you made a Rose, Fiesta, Sugar, Peach,
where we're at now,
Orange Bowl
with 6,
that would have been just awesome to be in that conversation because that meant you were in the Cotton Bowl as well. That means you're one of the 12 best teams in the country at that point. And we lost sight of it with the 14 playoff because everything kind of just got knocked down a peg. Well, now those bowl games, those are the most important games again. Yeah. And making those, it matters so much to the health of your program. And I think that those games are going to have that meaning again. And I'm excited for that in college football. And I hope that people do prop those games up again, and just making the playoff is the mark of a successful season for the high-end programs. And then you can go back to, I think what college football also needs to do is slot their bowls in, and we know that it's like, hey, the number 2 team from the Pac-12 goes and plays the number 2 team from the Big 12 in the Alamo Bowl. No, they need to make that apparent. Like, they need to make it clear-cut. Like, this is your line of benchmarks of success in bowl games, because I think it's lost when you have 44 bowl games this past year.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody gives a rip.
No, there's just too many.
No, because everybody lumps in the Popeyes Bahamas Bowl with the Alamo Bowl.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be
They're not the
held to
same.
the same standard because they're not.
No, the Amco Transmission Bowl is not the same.
That's right.
I was trying to think of another one that has been there. That is
The Holiday Bowl.
Yeah, the Holiday
How about
Bowl.
the Holiday
Yeah.
Bowl? We'll go with the Holiday Bowl. Used to be a great game.
Yeah.
Going to the Holiday Bowl was like, all right, yeah, we had a good season. We had a good little
And
season.
you had to usually get a good little matchup there.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. All right. 503-864-6326. This is a weird question to ask. Do we believe in the defending world champions that have the same roster as last year? Next on The Fan.
Better get ready. Bow to the masters.
I booed in my living room when this came on. Boo! She's yelling at a TV. They could definitely hear me. All right, the Denver Nuggets last night lost to the Suns 117-107 in overtime. Kevin Durant went off for 35 points, 8 boards. Jamal Murray was dynamite in that game. But the Nuggets have been kind of this roller coaster this year. And I think it's an interesting question on where's our trust level with the Nuggets? Because last year, they just hovered at the top of the Western Conference all season long.
Yeah.
And from start to finish, it was like, whoa, okay, are they going to stay healthy? Are they going to have Jamal Murray? Is this what we're seeing from this year's Nuggets team? Slow start, kind of shaking off the rust off of partying all summer long after winning a championship. And I think we forget what a toll going to the NBA Finals takes on a team the next season because of how you play till June.
Middle of June. And then you just fire it back up 2 months later at the end of September when you have to go back and start training camp again. Yeah, there's this belief in the NBA in particular where it's like, you just gotta manage the regular season. You gotta manage the regular season because it's all about the playoffs. The rings culture we were talking about with college football as well. And I hate it because it cheapens it for fans. It cheapens it for players that the 82 doesn't matter. Mm. And I think you're seeing a bit of that here with the Nuggets. Last year, final 3 weeks of the season, they coasted. They rested. They had it locked up. It's different this year. They don't have it locked up. Seeding is going to be an important factor, especially for Denver. Denver has the best home court advantage in all of basketball. It has nothing to do with their fans. It has everything to do with their elevation. It takes 72 hours at minimum to get adjusted to it. It is a built-in advantage. It matters to them. It's going to be interesting to see how much they fight for that. But while they are mostly the same team, the loss of Bruce Brown, while he hasn't been that impactful for other teams, how impactful he was for this team is a real thing. Christian Brown, the second-year player from Kansas, and this year Peyton Watson from UCLA have been very helpful. And they're going to be very good role players in 2 and 3 years. Like, they're going to be stud role players, I think, in my opinion. But there's a lot more variance in them. And Jamal Murray's injuries, his shin splints, are proving to be problematic. And the way the West is, it's very difficult night in, night out to match like for like. Say what you want about the Suns, but the reason they traded for Jusuf Nurkic was to have a 300-pound 7-footer who could bang the living hell out of Jokic. And last night, we saw that game was bananas. I was following along. Nuggets were running away on social media. I was just following along with the game. But you saw in the fourth quarter, it was absolute meltdown by the Phoenix Suns, who they're the worst team. The Phoenix Suns are the worst team in the NBA in the fourth quarter. Yes. Like, over the course of this season, they are the worst performing team offensively and defensively, combined metrics in the fourth quarter of games. Yet, they are 3-0 in overtime games. Okay, I guess I'll turn it on and win. And that's what you saw last night. Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, they go off and they, I think both of them outscored individually the entire Nuggets roster in that overtime period. I think he had 8 points from KD, 5 from Booker, and they ended up outscoring Denver 15-5 in overtime. But this Suns team is kind of, we're starting to see everybody builds to beat the best team in your conference, right? You condition your roster. Like, divisions are gone in the NBA where they don't even matter. So you're just kind of jockeying for that position. All right, who's the team that we need to worry about? And when you say the Suns go out and they get Nurk and they wanted that 300-pounder, you need somebody to jostle Jokic on the block. Mm-hmm. And he did that. He fouled out last night, but they end up winning the basketball game. The important thing is when you look at it, Jusuf Nurkic in 30 minutes, +9. Nikola Jokic in 44 minutes, -13. Now, so, individual game plus minus doesn't mean anything, but that right there, that's your indicator. That's the difference in the game. But here's the thing that I believe in so much.
with the Denver Nuggets, it is so important. Michael Malone in a 7-game series is really damn good. And I believe Jokic is just too much over 7 games. We saw that, in what they did. It's kind of funny that you mentioned how Nurk, just yesterday, you mentioned how Nurk got pissy over the fact that he had to play one-on-one against Jokic, and that was kind of one of the fractures of the Blazers in that playoff series in 2021. Yeah. Well, now here we are. That's exactly what they did, and Frank Vogel threw him out there and said, go get him.
And Nurk sucked it up.
And he did.
Guess what happened?
But can you sustain that over a 7-game series? And that's where I say, as much as we want to sit there and question Denver, do they have that same oomph this year? You have Nikola Jokic, and you have a 7-game series, and he will prevail over whatever you're going to throw at him because of his ability not just to score, but to pass the ball as well.
And that's the thing is that, he's the tried and true 2-time MVP, world champion, finals MVP, all those things. And that's what he's supposed to be doing, is to overcome that. But this is again, for the Suns, this is why you go out and you get Nurk, is you get the opportunity not to win that, to slow it down, to make the Nuggets play a style that they don't necessarily, not that they don't want to play, it's just not their preferred style.
And what teams can give them those fits, though? Because I think the Clippers sitting at the 4 seed, they can give him those fits with Zubac. And then you also have Kawhi Leonard and his length and his ability to help. And then they have on-ball defenders that they can trust on Jamal Murray, too.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, the flip side of that is like, the Nuggets have wings, again, like Christian Brown and Michael Porter Jr. and Peyton Watson, but the difference in trade-off there is pretty substantial. And I don't know if you want all those kind of support wings on the court for 25 to 30 minutes a night in the playoffs.
But we're sitting there and we're talking about this. Okay. OKC doesn't have, we can love Chet all we want, but their size is going to be an issue.
And the thing is, they have to avoid the Lakers and the Nuggets in the playoffs until they get some sort of size. Or they have to dictate so over the top, spread the floor so much. And this is where everybody talks about wanting to chase the Warriors for years. Spread the floor, shooters, da-da-da-da. Yeah, that works when you have A, the greatest shooter of all time, B, maybe the 3rd, 4th, or 5th best shooter of all time in Klay Thompson, and then later on, the best individual scorer in the history of the game. Yeah, you can spread the floor, and it doesn't matter what you do. You can play, quote-unquote, small ball, and there's no amount of punishing them that you can do unless you have maybe prime Shaq, prime Duncan, prime Hakeem, one of the best interior scorers the game has ever seen. That's the only way you're going to break that. I don't know if that exists. Like right now, the Celtics are bombing from 3. Just they're doing stuff as a team that they just spread you out and they annihilate you. Even I don't think they do enough of that to get Denver to go away from what they do.
So we've just named like 2 teams that we're saying, yeah, they could give them problems. Mm-hmm. Karl Anthony Towns in the playoffs, we're at the point where we have to believe it when we see it.
But also, if you talk to any of the Nuggets or any of the people that cover the Nuggets, the team that gave them the biggest fits last year on their way were the Timberwolves, because they do have legitimate size.
I don't think that, even though they have Jonas Valanciunas, New Orleans trust factor is 0. In that it factor. I think if you go down the list of teams also in the West, I don't think the Kings would be a fun series to watch. I still don't believe it. Dallas,
Luka's terrifying.
Luka is terrifying.
And that's the thing is, remember
just gravity around him. But
they did go out and get Gafford. They have size
at the trade deadline. Yeah,
they've got PJ Washington, and then they've got their rookie Derek Lively. It's
everybody else you're just squinting at and saying, I could see it, and that's why my belief in Denver is still there.
It's still there, but it's not as rock solid, I think, as it was, which is kind of insane to think about because Jokic is still the best player on the planet.
Yeah.
So ultimately, you're like, these playoffs, I think, and this is not unusual. It's going to come down to health.
As they always do. I mean, championship is injury luck, and that's basically what we see time and time again every single year. 503-864-6326, that's a Vancouver Ford text line. This text says, I hate it when it comes to playoff basketball. Everything seems like it's the best of 7. I'd rather see them go best of 3, best of 5, best of 7. Go escalate, and they did that. They did that, and people didn't like it because here's the thing in why the NBA wants to go to that 7-game series, right? It's because greatness rises to the top in 7-game series. That's where you see greatness rise to the top.
Yeah, that's the thing that's why the NCAA tournament is what it is the one and done allows for so much volatility.
You get caught in the chin one time and you're out. Then that 3-game series, that's
Which
where
is
you
why
go.
I'd like to see the first round go to 5.
Yeah,
I would
go back, revert back.
Yes, and they won't because they want the money.
But that's what the NBA wanted, though.
Yes.
Is like you want your stars to advance in 7-game series. Your stars will have a better opportunity to advance.
Wasn't that what kind of caused them to go to the 7-game because Dikembe and the Nuggets beating the Sonics?
Yep. You had the upsets, but that's the thing is like you get
I
those.
think that was the first time an 8-1.
Yeah, that's the thing is you get those upsets though. Remember you had the We Believe Warriors.
Yeah, they want the stronger teams to advance.
But I mean I think it's better for the sport when they don't. Think about the Joe Flacco Ravens run.
Cinderella story.
Think about how it's still talked about and the coverage that got.
I just appreciate you didn't say Eli. All right, hey, guess what?
Hey, remember the Giants when they broke off the Patriots' undefeated season?
Yeah, I did. I do. Actually, I don't remember that night.
Was that they were a 5th seed?
Blacked out a little bit, huh?
I'd like to thank Gary from the Oak Tree for that.
Were they a wild card team?
You thank Jack Daniel too.
No, Mr. Jägermeister.
Mr. Meister.
The master hunter.
Hunt your liver.
Yeah, Gary at the Oak Tree. He was a good friend of mine, owner of the bar, and a big Giants fan.
Oof.
And after he...
Was he gentle?
No. After he gloated in my face, it is the first and only time that he said 2 words. I feel bad. That's the first thing he said. And here's a drink on me. And I may have milked that for a few more. And
gotta do what you gotta do.
Like the only times. There were no freebies.
Speaking back to the Bills real quick, they just released Tre'Davious White.
There we go. And that move is coming. Yeah. 2 years in a row, big injuries. They're just it's a bloodletting in Buffalo right now.
It's another $6 million free. So they've dumped almost $20 million in the past 20 minutes.
Crazy to think about. All right, hey, the basketball party is back. And it's the best one around. George McCoy at Warren Allen Attorneys at Law presents Fan Madness Thursday and Friday, March 21st and the 22nd from noon till 7 p.m. each day. There's no better place to watch a tournament than the Stadium Sports Bar, home of the A&A Sportsbook. You and I are going to be live there. Isaac and Sue going to be live broadcasting from A&A in the Stadium Sports Bar. Fan Madness is presented by George McCoy at Warren Allen Attorneys at Law. Injuries and missing work ruining your day? Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com. He'll make them pay. For more information, go to Fan Madness. Go to 1080thefan.com. All right, Fan Madness. I'm looking forward to it. 21st and 22nd of March.
It's going to be fun, man.
Party on, Wayne.
Party on, Garth.
Let's go.
Woo! All right, coming up next on our worst day on the web, should we be training the Florida people?
No.
We'll get to that and more. First, here's the big one of the sports.
No.
I hear they got some tasty burgers.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Laurelhurst Market, Steakhouse, and Butcher Shop. Their butchers are all trained chefs eager to help with cooking advice. Get to know your friendly neighborhood butcher online at laurelhurstmarket.com. First on the Fan, the shorthanded Blazers start a 6-game homestand tonight with the Oklahoma City Thunder. 7 o'clock tip on Root Sports. Malcolm Brogdon, Scoot Henderson, Shaden Sharp, all still out. DeAndre Ayton is doubtful. Jeremy Grant, Matisse Thybulle, Tumani Kamara, all questionable. The Blazers are 13.5-point underdogs. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reporting the Pistons are signing free agent center Taj Gibson to a 10-day contract. Over in the National Football League, ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the Broncos are giving Russell Wilson permission to immediately begin talking to other teams ahead of the start of free agency next week. The team announced Monday they'll release Wilson after the start of the new league year on March 13th. Multiple reports have the Bills making a slew of roster moves, including releasing former Oregon State safety Jordan Poyer. He was a first-team All-Pro in 2021 and a Pro Bowler in 2022. And NFL Network's Tom Pelissero reporting the Commanders signing free agent tight end Zach Ertz to a one-year deal worth up to $5 million. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Tired of getting dinged by subscriptions? We won't send you a bill. Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. It's time for today's worst day on the web. With Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
That sucks.
This is like one of those situations where the machines start learning too much.
Yeah, I've seen this before. iRobot,
Gets a little scary.
Elon Musk, Kawhi Leonard. When they become aware,
You
becomes
don't
dangerous.
you don't want this to happen, and the sentient life is starting to take hold as the Florida Man games are taking place or have taken place in Florida. And why is that a big deal? Because events that were like evading the police and wrestling over beer were events at the Florida Man games.
This is too on brand, and I'm glad that they're doing this. This is a place where, jorts and shirts optional. They can coexist with the Olympiad, and you can have. What did they give for prizes in this? Please tell me it was like you either got
Bath salts.
Food and beer.
like you got a gold tin of Copenhagen, a silver tin of
Oh, dude,
Copenhagen.
I want a gold tin of Copenhagen.
You get a bronze tin of Copenhagen. Just depends on how you perform at the games. Bath salts is also a good one. I don't know if we want to be just giving away the drugs right there.
Oh, here's a great example of one of the events. A theft simulation relay in which
Okay.
competitors raced while toting a pair of bicycles, copper pipes, and catalytic converters. Larry Donnelly trained for the relay race by riding a bicycle around his
By
neighborhood.
living his life is what he did.
Wait.
He just lived his life.
He rode a bicycle around his neighborhood with a second bike strapped to his back. He said it paid off Saturday when he won his heat after picking up a bike in each hand and running with them. When asked for comment, he says, "I have an absolute disregard for self-preservation. I will do anything."
Which I think that they need to change the state slogan to.
I will do
read that
anything?
again.
I have an absolute disregard for self-preservation. I will do anything.
Yeah, that should be like, welcome to Florida. I have an absolute disregard for self-preservation. I will do anything.
And going hand in hand with this, he further elaborated, sigh, "When I was in the military, I did a little alligator wrestling."
There we go.
These are my people.
All right, here I have a full list of competitions from FloridaManGames.com. Eat the Butt Challenge, where they have to finish their pork butt platter in the fastest time.
Mhm.
Okay. You have Weaponized Pool Noodle Mud Duel, which sounds very uniquely. It's just basically like the joust from American Gladiators in mud with pool noodles. Evading Arrest Obstacle Course, which you noted. You have to jump over fences, through backyards, and away from actual police officers to earn your freedom. The Category 5 cash grab, where they put you in one of those wind tunnels
Yeah.
and you have to grab as much cash as possible, which is, I don't know how many times
That's got to be good preparation.
Florida has to lead the nation in Brinks trucks just opening and cash being strewn
Thrown out.
about the interstate, because I've seen, like, I
I
can
think they do it
remember
on purpose.
multiple in Florida. I know of one that happened in Maryland. I remember one happening in Pennsylvania. Other than that, or Chicago, one time it happened. Other than that, it's really hard to come by a Brinks truck just opening. And it's happened like multiple times in the state of
I
Florida.
think they do it on purpose in Florida just to kind of like stoke the flare a little bit.
Yeah.
Make sure that they're still Floriding hard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You have your catalytic converter bike race. You have Florida Sumo, conqueror of the Florida Man Games sumo ring as you try to blast your opponent or spill their remaining beer. So you're wearing a
Sumo fat suits.
No, you're not.
Oh.
That's not what you're wearing at all, because this is Florida Man.
That's true.
Okay. Think of Billy Madison. You remember the principal who was in the pool with his little inner tube around his waist?
Yeah, the floater, yeah.
Yeah, you have that, the little floaty around your waist, and it's not a nice one. It's
Yeah.
like the cheap one that's
Sure.
super tight, and these guys are way too big. And then you have a pitcher of beer, and it is you either fall or spill your beer, and you are out. And those are your Florida Man Games.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
We should not be training them in this.
Do you know who the judges are?
Who?
Ice and Nitro from American Gladiators.
Oh God.
They're the official judges.
And I bet you they are revered unlike any other.
Oh, they're
treated
big time
like gods.
celebrity. Big time
Are they
celebrities.
still jacked?
Yeah, they kind of look. Did you watch the documentary?
I watched a
American
little bit of it.
Gladiators doc.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's Nitro's in it, and he talked about all the juice that they were on. Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Ice is looking pretty good.
All right. Good for
She's looking good. Nitro is.
looking like a lot of juice.
He looks leathery.
Vincent
He
Mann?
looks leathery right
Okay.
now.
That'll
yeah.
happen.
But I mean, years of steroid abuse will do that to you, and just being out in the sun all the
That'll
time.
happen.
I guess
It'll sneak up on you and get you.
at the Florida Man games. It will. Having them be self-aware. I think like somebody's going to get a ringer though. You know, like you're gonna.
They're gonna get the guy from the GTA commercial.
Well, yeah, you actually get like an actual Florida Man in
Yeah.
there, not just people like trying to like be in on the joke. No, you're gonna get an actual Florida man who's gonna be like, I live my life. Here I go.
Have you seen the TikTok guy that walks around the Everglades barefoot?
No.
Oh yeah, and he like boops the snoot of like deadly animals.
What?
Oh yeah, he calls all of Florida Everglades alligators swamp puppies.
No, that's not right.
He's like, want to see something funny? And he flashes the light on the water, and you just see 1,000 gold eyes pop up in reflection. He's like, they think I'm going to turn my back. I'm not gonna.
What do you think the Oregon games would be? Like if we did like, I think you'd have to have like a tofu eating contest.
It'd be a lot of weed.
Oh yeah, like a joint rolling competition.
Mustache twirling.
Mustache
waxing.
twirling is
yeah.
a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some sort of logging, something coffee related.
Unicycle riding, like an
Ooh.
unicycle obstacle course. The coffee.
Something like a pretentious Olympics. Who could be the most pretentious?
Yeah. But then you also like Oregon's got the hipster. You have these games could be just a big old cluster.
Yeah.
Because we got a little bit of Florida mans in this area too. We got the catalytic converter issues. We
we got that.
We got the tweaker issues going on here.
You can get some lumberjack games in there too.
Yeah. Also,
we have it's
urban
rural.
camping setups.
There you go.
Survive.
Yeah. How fast can you set up a tent on pavement?
Yeah.
Let's see you assemble cooking materials. How fast can you cook your fentanyl?
Yeah. Yeah. Like you have to swim across the Willamette and dodge all the poop.
Ooh. Which I will tell you, the dodging might be the easiest part. Have you ever actually tried to swim across the river?
Not the Willamette River. Swimming across rivers is hard.
It's hard, man.
Yeah.
They're big.
I did it down in
Water's moving.
Yeah. I did it down in Newburgh, down at Rogers Landing when I was in high school. And I got to the other side. I stayed there and waited for them to come get me because I was not swimming back.
Yeah.
I was like, bro,
I'm good.
I got to the other side. I was exhausted. I was like, how do people do that whole swimming the channel thing?
The Oregon Man games.
They train for it.
But like, even then, man,
you know,
like,
they try it, more than once.
IPA chugging competition. That's a great one.
Oh,
from the
yeah, it's a great
Vancouver Ford text line. You could have that. Let's see.
ooh, you have to take on the police riot shielders. And do it full American American Gladiator style. You gotta make it through the riot shield.
Antifa evasion is what it is.
Yeah, there you go.
You have to weave your way through the Antifa on your way to work. Yeah.
Trying to get a reservation at Screen Door or something.
Ooh. I like that.
Yeah, you could have a debate portion where you debate the merits of locally owned bookstores. Go down that road.
Oh, I mean, if you really wanted to go full sideways, very, very nuclear, run for the mayor of Portland.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to sign up for those games.
No.
I don't think anybody wants any.
I think that's the only way we're going to get somebody elected there. I think it's by default otherwise. The winner is, there you go, the winner is mayor of Portland.
Are you sure it's the winner?
I think some people might be better off. I think that might be the case.
Yeah.
I don't know.
How about crocheting bike seat covers for the
There
naked bike
we
ride?
go. Yeah. Yeah, a naked bike ride portion has to be involved in it.
Ooh.
That's a very good one. I think we're onto something here.
Yeah.
The Oregon,
We need to trademark this now.
we're not that far off. Like the whole Keep Portland Weird, it's taken like the cheeky fun to, whoa, as of late.
Yeah, no, there's a lot more that than anything else. Interesting thought proposition here. The NBA trade deadline was 3 weeks ago. What would happen if they were like the NHL and had their trade deadline this Friday? How would that change things, and how would that impact the outlook for the NBA going forward? Danny and Dusty, Danny the Fan. Looking at the NHL trade deadline coming to a close on this Friday. In the NHL season, 82 games, just like the NBA, coming 3 weeks later, almost 4 weeks later, no, 4 weeks later, a full month later than the NBA's, even though the season starts a week apart, It's a pretty interesting thing because now it's quite literally the final quarter of the season.
It really is a great idea. I mean, usually we have it's like halfway point of the season. You got to have your trade deadline. The NHL said, screw it. We're going to do our trade deadline where you truly have the haves and the have-nots. It is the true separator.
There's no question about who's where.
Teams can sell off and say, nope,
steer into the skid. Yep.
And you do it in the last quarter of the season, and the contenders can truly bolster their lot in life. In the NBA, you have teams that just hold on, like maybe we can make that push.
The squint, yeah. And then they pretend post trade deadline for 6 weeks.
I would love to see the NBA, for a multitude of reasons, push it back to around this time. First of all, their trade deadline is Super Bowl week.
Which, not great, Bob.
That's the dumbest thing.
The other thing is, on the talent stand front, do you think a team right now that knows, like, okay, we have a no BS shot, do all of a sudden, are they willing maybe to pay a little bit more?
Absolutely.
Something to look at, and this is maybe going to go over the heads of everyone who's not an NHL fan. Vladimir Tarasenko was just traded from the Ottawa Senators to the Panthers. Fantastic player. The Panthers have been a great team. They have been at the forefront of the NHL for the last couple of years, them and the Lightning. And you get them giving up 2 first-round picks to go get a guy.
Like, just think of it in these terms, like a team like the Orlando Magic that needs shooters.
Yeah.
And they weren't quite as into making a deal that would be a landscape-shifting move for them because of the fact that they were kind of in that purgatory.
They were beat up. They were injured up and down their roster.
They got healthy a little bit. They were sitting in that play-in level. And then post All-Star break,
they've been rattling off wins.
They just went boom, 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 boom. And the big one was the trade deadline used to be right after the All-Star game.
Yeah, it happened during All-Star week, and so you had guys that were getting traded
during All-Star
week, and it made things very awkward.
Playing for the West, and
they're on an Eastern
traded to the team in an Eastern Conference. That was horrible. But say Orlando, their health wasn't going to be changing until the All-Star break. Period. Would that be a team that is more prone to making a move right now as opposed to a month ago?
Yes.
I say absolutely 100% yes, because they would go, we can make this run when we're healthy and we don't have shooters. If we added a shooter, if we could stretch a floor a little bit more, all of a sudden they're sitting there looking at, we thought that this might be the year we popped. We're actually doing it right now.
The other one here is, if you want to go a step further, you have the team that's working their way in, like Orlando, Oklahoma City. What about a team like the Warriors trying to make one more run?
They would be.
You've already like they've been playing better, right? Remember how awful they were?
Absolutely, 7-3 over the last 10.
They're playing better now. All of a sudden, would they give up anything that they have now to add one more piece to make one more run with Steph, Clay, Dre?
And you only have a quarter, and this would make expiring contracts. It would make them that much more valuable here. I think that the NBA should think about it because their trade deadline was rendered a big old nothing burger this past year.
Push out of the Super Bowl week.
Any move that was made, it was just buried under Super Bowl content. Any teams that were kind of on that edge of that periphery, they get scared away of making a deal because of where you're at in the season. This amplifies it a little bit more, and you could really have teams just push all in. One thing that would happen, though, is there would be guys that try to leverage play it, and they say, no, deal me. I want out now.
Sure.
And the teams just go, no. But the last quarter of that season is going to be miserable. And that's probably what's holding them back from doing this. But don't be scared away from those exceptions, because the rule will be teams get great at the trade deadline. Yes. Some teams could sell off. Like, I believe that Portland is in more of a situation where they'd be more willing to deal right now
100%
than they were a month ago.
Yes.
Because it's a quarter of the season. You're sitting there not staring down the barrel of half of the season left in front of you going, oh, boy, here we go.
We need to have some functional players to keep this thing from...
And then now you're at, we could torpedo this thing for 20 games.
Yeah. It's much more palpable to torpedo 20 than to torpedo 40.
Absolutely.
That's the reality of this.
I hear the NHL's trade deadline, has never captured my attention. For this reason only, it has.
Yeah, the timing. I think the timing of it's better. So there you go. There's your hot trade deadline movement.
I got one more hockey note for
Ooh.
you. I wanted to get this in because we have the YouTube chat was talking about this early in the show. Winterhawks win out, they can win the Western Conference in the WHL.
Hey,
Good on the boys.
I haven't been to the Winterhawks in actually quite a while.
They had an overtime win.
There you go. I haven't been since the days of Nino Niederreiter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's been probably like 8
That's
9
actually
years.
probably when
10 years.
last time I was there.
Ryan
too.
Johansson. To be fair, those teams were nasty.
There are so many great players that come through.
Oh, the
That-
NHL
just
players?
Not,
Yeah.
not in Portland, but on the other teams too.
Yeah, the
Like,
WHL.
Like there's been a ton of guys that have come out of
Mhm.
Portland, like Seth Jones, Nino Niederreiter, like you're talking about. Like there's been
Paul Gostad.
at Adam Deadmarsh.
Yeah, it's a pretty good list when you think about just little old Portland.
There's been, but coming through just the WHL, they got great hockey, man. It's fun to watch. Going to an NHL game though, you notice how much faster, how much bigger
Oh God, yeah.
those guys are, because some of these guys are like 16, 17 years old.
Oh, they're
And you sit
kids
there and you're
still.
like, holy crap, they're so talented and skilled.
And they're
But
playing-
hey, good on the Winterhawks.
Yeah.
Love the Winterhawks.
Go Hawks. All right, coming up next here in hour number 3, Dusty and I have taken a look at the impending free agents and taken the top 3 are most impactful non-quarterback free agents. And we'll dive into those. Come up here in hour number 3 on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. 5:03 here on a Wednesday afternoon here on Danny and Dusty. Whether you're listening on 1080 AM The Fan, watching on YouTube.com/1080 AM The Fan, Twitch.com/1080 AM The Fan. Wherever you are, we appreciate you. We love you. You can find us on social media at Danny Meringue, at Dusty_Hera, and at Danny and Dusty, spelled out.
And at the Rust 503.
Hey!
Yes.
It's always a little terrifying when you get into Jeff's mentions. You never know what you're going to get. Mine, you're going to get trolling.
I feel like the Rust 503 could be like, that's a very Portland, not just because of the area code, it's a very Portland handle. That could be like the name of like a boutique coffee shop.
Yeah.
Or
a place that cuts your rare earth metals out of your catalytic converter.
Yeah, that's true too.
The Rust 503.
Like it has range.
I was gonna say maybe a band you'd find down at Satyricon or something.
Sure. Yeah.
That's a little too on the nose.
Yeah. Could be like, that they say like country bar or gay bar, like the Rusty Spur, like with Silverados that you have down here locally in Portland, like the Rust 503.
Funny story about Silverados.
You have no idea which it is.
The Blazers Nuggets series, media was in town, and we were walking up and down the street, and one of them said, "Yeah, last night went in there."
Yeah.
I was like, didn't know, huh?
Didn't expect that.
I've been in there.
I still say there
sounds like a great steakhouse coming in on the text line too.
Yeah. Hey, there we go.
Yeah.
My wife, there was a sandwich joint she used to like to go to when she worked in Tigard. It was a great sandwich joint. It just I found the name maybe could have been better served in a different industry. The Spicy Pickle.
Oh.
I like that name for a restaurant. I hate pickles. I would never go there just based on the name alone. Do not like pickles that much. I'd be out.
The Portland Pickles probably need to appropriate that
right
a little bit.
Especially after that one tweet.
At some point in time, we also need to talk about. Did you see that the Pickles announced all their different nights tonight for the season?
No.
Oh, buddy, there are some nights on that list.
Oh, really?
There's a Pac-2 celebration night.
They need it. They know their audience.
Yep.
That is perfect.
Yeah, no. There's Evil Knievel.
That is going to be terrifying.
Yeah,
John Ryan retweeted their release and said, I might have to skip June 5th night because that is Portland better than Seattle night.
I'm here for that night.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm here for that night. I have no shame in that night. Portland better than Seattle night. Yeah, we don't have a little brother complex here or anything like that. But I agree with that night. We need more of them.
Portland Wrestling Night.
Hells yeah. Portland wrestling was great. I used to go to the Elks Club at the old Elks Lodge in Milwaukee and watch Portland wrestling. That was awesome. Portland wrestling is cool.
Oh, yeah.
We missed that. They had some great wrestlers come through here, too. Roddy Piper,
ton.
obviously. Playboy Buddy Rose. You had Sting was a Portland wrestler for a while.
I think he's making a comeback, too. He's like 62.
I thought he retired. Was he coming back or retiring?
No, I thought he was coming
Did they
back.
put the rods in his back again?
And they were going to completely, do his thing, lowering him down from the rafters. But
are they like? Is it like
In a full bodysuit harness?
No,
look,
is it
if
like
Ric Flair can still be out there doing things? I'm sure Sting can.
They need to lower him down, but in like a seat, like you have that goes up and down the stairs for old
yeah, send him down in a hover round.
Here's a couple more from the promo schedule for the Pickles: the Monty Python and the Holy Dill.
Okay, just put the flesh wound.
Following that game, Human vs. Robot Night.
I don't want any part of that night.
Dylan's Presidential Caucus.
Of course they did.
And caucus is spelled exactly like you think it is.
Yeah, I know.
The correct way, I'm sure, right?
Yes, they have the 4th of July day game, and then following that, at nighttime, it's hashtag America Night. The next day, rent in PDX is too damn high.
Yeah, that's true.
The next day, Strip City Night.
Hey, yo.
Which, I mean, maybe you cover your rent that way.
Mm-hmm.
Dilly Parton Night.
Okay. You speaking my language.
How about Wiener Night?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's hot dog night. You see, Philly is discontinuing
the $1
$1 dog night because they got too unruly, those Philadelphians.
They threw them on the field and at people.
Actually makes sense then.
I mean,
probably a good move.
It's probably cheaper than throwing batteries. That's pricey nowadays. Every time you rear back to throw it, $7.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
It's more expensive than ammo.
Dude, I'm looking through this list of guys that former Portland wrestlers. Ric Flair, Mr. Fuji, Roddy Piper, the Guerrero brothers.
Ooh, I forgot about that one.
That's a who's who, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a list.
I remember back in the day.
Gorilla Monsoon.
Oh, yeah, Gorilla
I don't
Monsoon.
remember that one.
Back in the day when I was still,
He's old school.
not yet betrothed to my current lady.
Sure.
A night out with the boys. I believe it was at Club 205, and me and Mike Miller was the bouncer.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Club 205. That's
Deep.
that's a throwback.
Right.
Dude. Man.
Is that the one that
This list
turned
is
into
great.
Thunder Ranch?
Sergeant
I have no
Slaughter? No. Thunder Ranch is off McLaughlin. Club 205 is more toward, not that I know, more towards Stark Street.
Core memory unlocked. I found some old pictures the other day, and from various establishments, and I was talking to somebody. I go, I don't think any of these places are open anymore.
Nah. Oh, Jimmy Superfly Snuka, Jesse Ventura.
Snuka came through here?
Oh, yeah, he did. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And Ventura?
Yeah.
Wow.
Dude, there's a lot of great Portland wrestling was who's who, man.
It was a circuit. I knew that, but I didn't know it was that.
And obviously Andre the Giant too.
Yes.
You know?
You'll appreciate this one. August 3rd for the Pickles. It's crop dust night. And in parentheses it says fart night.
Why would I appreciate that?
I mean, you seem like the kind of guy who would drop one and go.
Yes,
I can appreciate that. I got a couple into an argument one night when I was bartending because I crop dusted the table. She got up and left.
That is a pro move right there.
Yeah. She got up and left. And I
Like
wrote,
what? Hold on. What's going on with that guy's insides to where his lady friend was like, enough?
I'm done.
Well, no, because he
Enough.
blamed her for it.
Oh, he blamed her.
He
for
blamed
it.
her, and she was like, I did not do that.
You know, you did that guy a favor. You know, if you are with somebody who will get that mad over a fart, then it's good. That was that's relationship
guy
advice
solid.
you gave. That was great move by that crop dust. Evil in intentions was actually sweet karmic justice. It was good.
I saw her get up and leave, and I went over. I was like, well, can I get you anything? It's like, I think I'll just take the check.
Wow, you had a good fart, Jeff.
It was a doozy. You know, that early restaurant life.
So there's a night here. It's party like it's 1999. I'm interested to see what people who are born in the 2000s think of what party like it's 1999 looks like.
Yeah,
And then how many kids I'm going to punch.
It's like, boy, they are not going to get it because it was like hunker down, doomsday preppers.
Yeah,
and
Y2K.
And
Yeah,
then,
like
and then,
1999 in the spring, different.
Yeah.
1999 come December, a lot of panic, folks.
You're sitting there like, oh man, hey, we made it.
The nuclear codes are okay. I remember that real panic, man.
It was very real. It was manufactured, but it was real.
It was like, you got to shut off your computer before midnight.
Because we didn't know.
Hilariously.
It was like, we did the simulation. We put the clocks forward on the computer, and everything seemed to work out. But there was like one guy who was like, no, we're all screwed, brother.
I'm not taking that one chance.
There was a issue in the gaming community last week because they did not have the clocks built into their game for leap year. It was an oversight. So when it didn't match the calendar that was coming in from the live services on the internal system, it didn't. The live services didn't work.
It just stopped.
So you had to go into your PC or console and put the date forward.
Somebody's like, damn it, Bob. You had one job every 4 years.
Yeah. So they had to go in and patch it. But yeah, it's still it's a smaller scale, but it was a thing.
Huh.
It's just not now. I bet you going forward, that company realizes, hey, we need to make sure we have the leap year software update in there. Imagine if that's your job, is to be the leap year patch guy.
Yeah, Bob. Like
always-
leap year Bob over there.
God,
Like,
it's always-
come on.
That sounds like
bud.
a Southwest Airlines commercial. Want to get away?
You forgot to put the leap year in. Everything just blows up behind.
You had one job,
Skynet.
Bob.
And then you could pop in right after it, the Holiday Inn Express. Add right after it. You can do a little commingling. I don't know how to patch anything on the internet, but I did stay at Holiday Inn Express last night. Here I am.
Why don't we have the airlines and hotels doing like joint commercials?
They really should.
like.
And then you could throw in like a rental car place
Yeah.
too. Yeah. I don't know. I think we just reinvented their marketing
Have you
scheme.
have you rented a car recently?
Oh,
Did you rent
boy.
one in Atlanta?
No.
Uber?
Yeah, we Ubered everywhere. I'm more prone to Ubering.
Yeah,
unless I'm staying at a house and doing that
A
whole
little
thing.
further away.
Last
Well,
time we did it was down in Southern California.
That's it.
We go down the
Pac-12
freeway.
media
Yeah,
days.
Pac-12 media
you
day. I
rented
had to
a
rent a
car
car.
because you had to drive me through hell,
I did literally through the hood.
through Chavez Ravine.
And then I used Waze to get home because I drove you. You flew out of Burbank, which is north, and I was down in Laguna, is where we were staying. It took me it was like, no, you don't want to sit in this traffic.
We'll zigzag you through
It
traffic.
took me through the hood, and I was like, whoop.
Click.
No,
Click.
no, but I was in such a crappy rental car. It was like nobody's gonna carjack me. Nobody wants a piece of this.
Fair point.
Clark Griswold in
Uh-huh.
St. Louis. All right,
Just
roll the
rolling up.
windows, kids.
There you go. That's how you party like it's 1999. You roll your windows up.
Yeah, manual
There
crank.
we go.
Full circle. All right, what happens in the tire
All
side?
those kids that still don't know what the save icon actually means.
Oh, God, yeah, the disc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
What
You
is-
know what they're gonna do now? Like, they don't know what CDs are. Like,
No.
or DVDs. They don't like. That does not compute
No.
with them because you just stream everything now.
Yeah.
We Sprague and I, after their show this morning, had a similar discussion about texting and distracted driving and stuff. He's like, you know what distracted driving was for us? The
T9?
the 100 disc case Logic sitting in the front seat as I was trying to change
Flipping
my CD
through your-
while
yeah.
driving.
Yeah, while changing gears, like
Yeah.
you're driving a stick, you're like
Yep.
going all through that. The struggle was real back then. The struggle was real.
Wild times.
Yeah, you had to get out of your car to go to the back to get to the six disc changer.
Do you remember when your first adapter for like your iPod was a tape deck that went in?
Oh,
It
God,
was
yeah,
like
you
a
put that
cord
in
that
there?
came out of the tape deck. What kind of animals were we?
That wasn't even for a tape deck. That was early on, like CD technology
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, you just plug it right in.
Yeah.
And boy,
Anti-skip on your
that
Walkman?
Anti-skip is the biggest crock of all time. It meant you could walk briskly.
Gingerly.
Like you could just be like, hey, no, I know you're jogging. Stop that right now.
Do you ever see the person that ran with it like out in their hand, parallel to the ground?
See that person? You mean be that person? Yeah, I did
And
that.
remember, you couldn't squeeze too hard because the lid would push
Yeah.
down on the CD.
That was called me during track season, having to like run. I'm just like sitting there like I'm a server. I'm holding a platter
Don't
out
spill
there
the drinks.
as I'm running. It's like, why do you have hip problems out? I don't know. Maybe because I'm not using my left arm when I run.
There's no drive. All right, coming up, 3 impactful free agents, non-quarterback free agents on the NFL free agency board that you can take a look at as having the most impact going forward. Danny and Dusty, Danny the Fan.
The
This song will never come on and put you in a bad mood. It just won't. It's impossible. With that said, NFL teams are not built through free agency.
They're not. They're not. You're built through the draft.
But you can make some serious impact plays.
Well, especially when you have as many teams that have as much cap space as they do this year. Not just the explosion with $30 extra million that teams weren't necessarily accounting for. They were accounting for, and this is like the big thing with the salary cap. Everybody in the league offices knew it would be exploding.
And understanding.
$30 million was still even larger than what they thought. They were thinking like $25 to $28 million range, but $2 million.
It's another player
to get you a player, get your role player on your roster. And that is huge for teams. But you look at teams like the Bears, Commanders, Patriots that have $100 million in salary cap space that they can work with this offseason. That is huge. That is absolutely monstrous when you think of what this free agent market is going to be. You don't want to be the team that relies on building through free agency. You want to fill your holes and fill your gaps through them. And I think there's a ton of really damn good players that you can do just that with in this free agent pool.
And you and I each took 3. And looking at our list, it's interesting where we came down. Even though we look at the game, I think, differently in a sense, we both boiled down to the same thing, no matter what. And it's always interesting when you think about the biggest free agent names in football. Obviously, number one, it's quarterbacks. But beyond that, you get to a lot of skill position guys. But you and I each went same general path for our first players.
But I think that taking quarterbacks out of it is huge because, like, Kirk Cousins is an easy one.
Yes.
Russell Wilson,
even boiled down to what he is,
at $1 million.
Yeah, that's what juices him.
Throw them out.
Yeah,
throw them out. But it does. It comes down to the guys that can make an impact on every single down that you're out there. And I think number one for me is Chris Jones. Mm-hmm. You look at him and his value as not just a defensive lineman, but leadership qualities that Chris Jones has as well. Those are the intangibles that you could take that winning culture, that championship culture. And I do believe that he ends up staying in Kansas City. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to go and give a guy a sweetheart of a deal, his valuation on the free agent market is around like $30 million a year.
Which that'll happen.
And you're looking at like a 4-year deal. You're going to be putting $120 million towards Chris Jones. And he's worth every damn penny
which
because
means you're
of his
probably
value.
guaranteeing 80.
And that guy is one that, number one, if I am one of those teams that has a ton of cap space, but is also in it. Here's the other thing: you have to be in a window to be competitive right now. Like
otherwise, it makes no sense.
New England isn't a team that should throw money at a guy like Chris Jones.
Nor should Washington.
Nor should Washington. Because they are so far off. But if you are a team that is sitting there in a decent cap situation, so you can throw out your Chargers,
Bills.
Throw out the Bills, throw out the Dolphins, and you say, all right, what teams are in a decent cap situation and could make a big impact? I look at the Houston Texans. If I'm the Houston Texans, I am beating down the door of Chris Jones, sitting there and be like, we got $70 million to burn this year. We have a young quarterback who's going to be on a rookie deal for the next 3 seasons. And then we have 1 season that is going to be manageable when we pick up his 5th-year option. Houston is a team that 100% I go, yep, I'm giving him a call. If I'm Detroit, think of what you have in Detroit if the Lions have got $54 million in cap space. That isn't just like they're all going to be able to use it and just spend it on one guy. But you think of,
they can make it work.
You bolster that front 7 in the middle, and you have Chris Jones there. Yeah, I'm making that phone call. Indy, make that phone call. Try to sit there and say, all right, we're going to bring in the guy who can push us over the top on the defensive side of the ball.
Make us a playoff team. If you're Indy.
Chris Jones is number 1 for me.
Picking up what you're putting down, I went same kind of path, but I also went more on the upside swing, and I went at Bryce Huff, who had 10.5 sacks this last year. I think he's a guy where if you're looking for, because they've rotated so many guys through Philadelphia the last couple of years, you kind of like, okay, what does the production actually look like for a guy if he's your every down guy? And I think if he is your other edge pass rusher, I think you're in a phenomenal spot. So I was thinking, it's kind of funny. You brought up the Texans, the Lions, and the Raiders. Yeah. Those are the 3 teams who have cap space, who with the Raiders, you've got Max Crosby on one side. You put him on the other side, it starts getting pretty interesting. You look at the Lions, you've got Aiden Hutchinson. That's pretty damn interesting. With the Texans, you've got Will Anderson. You put him on the other side, that gets pretty interesting. And I think like if you look at those teams and what all three of those teams need that. If you have a great pass rusher, but you're a little lacking in other places, you're like, oh, well, you need some more help on that defensive front. Even though the Lions have a very solid front, you could get better.
Yep.
And I think you're taking a opportunity on a guy who's a little bit younger than, not a little bit, a lot of bit younger than Chris Jones, but not the proven commodity. But you might be betting on him hitting the peak of his career.
Look, I think there's another guy too. My second guy is Tyron Smith. He's one of the best tackles in the NFL this year. He is long in the tooth, but I don't think anybody is ruled out from throwing the bag at Tyron Smith.
No.
Does he go and try to chase a ring? In all likelihood, yeah, he probably does, and he probably should. But if you're a team drafting a young quarterback, there's no better place to start. And we think about the teams with the most cap space. They're going to be the ones that are drafting in that top three. Washington, New England, Chicago.
All three of them should throw money
They
at him.
should knock on the door and say, we know you're 33. Yep. We need you not just to be the anchor on our offensive line at left tackle, but there's that security that you know your young quarterback has got one of the best offensive linemen who can also bring that guy along in teaching him how to be a pro. The biggest problem that you have with all of these teams that are drafting really high is that they're really bad on the offensive line.
Yes.
Like they are really, and there's a reason why all of their quarterbacks failed, because they were atrocious up front. If I'm Seattle too, I'm trying to see, all right, they need interior offensive linemen, and they were just banged up because the young guys got hurt last year.
But
I'm banging on the door of interior offensive linemen that are veterans to sit there and go, all right, they were one of the worst pass blocking teams in the NFL last year. They must upgrade the interior of their offensive line. That's not Tyron Smith here, but if you're in the market to draft a quarterback, that's where we're going to see a lot of these teams spending their money. And I don't think there's any team in the NFL outside of San Francisco where you have the best. Trent Williams is the best tackle in the game. There's very few teams that are going to say, yeah, we're not going to throw the bag at a guy like Tyron Smith.
Which, I mean, anytime you have the opportunity to do that
though he's old.
Yeah, it feels like the tackle is
33 is old, though.
It is, but it seems like those dudes, him and Trent Williams and Dwayne Brown, like they have all had some stuff left in the tank long after everybody kind of expected them. And I have Tyron Smith here as well. Like that was the way I was going to go. That's, I think, kind of a no-brainer when you look at what's going on out there for every reason that you highlighted. Young quarterbacks need that protection. If you're going to let them get killed, what the hell is the point of drafting them? Yep. Not only the skill, but I think the sage locker room leadership, bring a guy along stuff is just as important when you look at things. I end up going also with Danielle Hunter. I think you're looking at him for very much the same way as you're looking at Bryce Huff, where you're looking at a guy who's wildly productive as a pass rusher, and you go, I would like one of those. And if you're one of those teams that misses out on one, you can go get the other.
Yeah, you need an edge. I think my third guy is, look, he had a down year this year, but the two previous years he was outstanding,
Monster.
And that's Christian Wilkins. But Miami can't afford to keep him. He's not going to be getting an extension there because he had a down year. That guy is a disruptor up front. He's got to stay healthy, but if you can get him in that $20 million range, $20 to $25 million range, that's a guy that can be a difference maker on your defensive line. He graded out, Pro Football Focus had him in the top 10 of defensive linemen in 2021 and 2022. He dropped down to 29th in this past season. It was a flummoxing year for the Miami Dolphins, especially on the up front defensively. Mm-hmm. But Christian Wilkins got a lot of tread left on his tires. He's only 28 years old. You're going to get him for one deal, and it's one last deal. But when you get a guy who can be an impact maker up front, again, this eliminates a lot of teams. But at 28, as opposed to in his 30s already, you're looking at, all right, now we have a little bit of a runway to where if you think your team is closer to competing in your division, go out and get yourself a Christian Wilkins, because that guy is from quarterback, it's not always sacks that define your success as a defensive lineman. Pressures,
up the middle.
and he gets hits on quarterbacks. So he's my number 3.
I like it. So those are 3 impact free agents that we can see coming up here in the NFL
Next week.
very soon. And speaking of free agents, one of the biggest potential free agents to hit the market next year had his option picked up. What does that mean for that team? And, well, them stepping in it. But first, is the Big Kahuna Sports Center update.
You ever had a Big Kahuna Burger?
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com. First on the Fan, the shorthanded Trailblazers start a 6-game homestand tonight with the Oklahoma City Thunder. 7 o'clock tip on Root Sports. Malcolm Brogdon, Scoot Henderson, Shaden Sharp, all still out. DeAndre Ayton is questionable. Jeremy Grant, Matisse Thybulle, Tumani Kamara are all, DeAndre Ayton is doubtful. Jeremy Grant, Matisse Thybulle, Tumani Kamara, all questionable. The Blazers are 13.5-point underdogs. ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the Broncos giving Russell Wilson permission to immediately begin talking to other teams ahead of the start of free agency next week. The team announced Monday they'll release Wilson after the start of the new league year on March 13th. Multiple reports have the Bills making a slew of roster moves today. That includes releasing former Oregon State safety Jordan Poyer. He was a first-team All-Pro in 2021 and a Pro Bowler in 2022. And NFL Network's Tom Pelissero reporting the Commanders assigning free agent tight end Zach Ertz to a 1-year deal worth up to $5 million. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The inside story on the Blazers, Ducks, and Beavers. Danny and Dusty. Weekdays noon to 3 on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
Dallas Cowboys might be the biggest brand in football and maybe even the biggest brand in all of the sporting world. That will not save them from the impending doom of the salary cap. They have spent more money, and honestly, this started when they gave Zeke too much money.
Yes.
And then they gave Dak too much money. And then they just kind of started going on this road of this precedent being set of paying guys too much. And it has put them in a position where they have now picked up the fifth-year option for pass rusher Micah Parsons, one of the one of the three best defensive players in football. It's him, TJ Watt, and insert player here. You just kind of recycle through, but I think him and Watt are the two best defensive players in football.
I think you go, Watt, Parsons, and then you can slide Bosa when healthy, Nick Bosa.
Pick your player. But Watt and Parsons are the two dudes. And he's going to cost more than God.
Boy, he deserves every penny of it.
Yes.
But the fact of the matter is that we have it's all been rising and bubbling very slowly in Dallas, and we've already seen Micah Parsons' brother Terrence has been critical of Dak Prescott. Mm-hmm. We've had Dak Prescott's brother. What is going on with their family members?
Family members need to stay off social media in general. It's just
Tad Prescott is up in arms and goes after everybody. And you have CeeDee Lamb's mom criticizing Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott. You have this war circulating around the family. Let's not even get into Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah.
And Stephon Diggs kind of stepping out.
I thought you were going to say, let's not even get into Adam Drexler, but that too.
But we have a series of people surrounding the Cowboys organization. We all know where they're getting all their information from, the frustrations of their family members,
yes.
Right?
They're voicing it to them.
And then you have Dallas say, we're going to tag Micah Parsons as a DN, not an outside linebacker, which saves them about $3 million in what they have to pay him when they eventually tag him next year.
The designation, yes.
Next year they're going to have to make that decision. Are we going to stick with Dak Prescott because after this year they got a potential out in options, and they're going to have to. Dak Prescott's cap number is $40 million this year. They're staring down the barrel of long-term deals with Zach Martin, DeMarcus Lawrence, CeeDee Lamb, all of those guys. Like we were talking about how everybody gets paid, and we were looking at Buffalo and how Buffalo has $100 million wrapped up in three guys. You have actually cap hit for Dak is $59 million.
59.5.
Which is crazy.
Then Zach Martin at 28.5.
And then you have DeMarcus Lawrence at 20, and then CeeDee Lamb is at 18, which is palatable for a wide receiver. That's your market if you're going to have a top flight wide receiver. But Micah Parsons is going to throw a wrench into any and all of this. And then you add on top of that Dak Prescott and the decision that they need to make coming up next year. It's going to get real ugly in Dallas. And this is not the greatest of starts, is that what you're doing is, but with the designation of this tag, look, we remember this with Jimmy Graham in New Orleans.
Tight ends versus wide receiver.
And where he lined up mostly as a wide receiver, but they tagged him as a tight end because that's what he was on.
Saved them like $7 million.
Saved them a ton of money. When you're taking that money out of those guys' pocket, that's where you get a little bit of frustration. And from what we already know, things aren't sitting well with Dallas's star players as it pertains to their quarterback, their coach, and the direction of the franchise at times. Did you see the Jane Slater article back in January after they lost, where you had multiple anonymous players just venting to her about scheme both offensively and defensively, saying Dak panics. Dak Prescott, once he gets past his first read, cannot go through his progressions. And here's the other thing, when we bring that up, that's Justin Fields, but he's more athletic. Justin Fields is.
Sure.
This is why I go, Justin Fields can be successful. Chicago did him zero favors. It has to be in the right spot. That's kind of where the ceiling of Justin Fields can be in a lot of people's eyes, is that look, no, he can be really good, but is he going to be the guy that gets you over the top that you're going to lean on, like Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, those types? No, you're not gonna rely on him. But Dak Prescott has that, but he's on America's team, and for all of the faults that Jerry Jones has as an owner, they've done a really damn good job of drafting talent that they now have to pay the piper for, and that is in the form of big old checks coming out. I don't see Micah Parsons in Dak Prescott being on the same team moving forward.
No, I don't think you can.
And that's the choice.
Financially, but number two, just kind of the direction of your franchise. And that's, I feel like Micah Parsons is going to be a guy who gets $150 million.
I don't think there will be teams that will gladly pony up that money for him.
Because of how good he is.
100%.
He's a one of one dude out there. And I mean, he's on the path of a first ballot Hall of Famer. He might already be there.
It's a pretty good spot to be in.
So, and look, I know it's all about quarterbacks, and you can say all that all you want, and you're going to be right. But at some point in time, one of them has to be, if you're going to pay somebody like they're the best at their position, don't you want it to be the guy who's the best at his position?
I would love Mike McCarthy to sign Russell Wilson to a 2-year, $2.5 million deal.
And be about the same?
Yeah, and you'll be able to pay Micah Parsons next year. Just 1 year of hell.
God, that's how they're going to get out of this.
It's not going to happen.
That's how they're going to get out of this.
It's not going to happen.
Do you know the chaos that would ensue?
That would just drop a hand grenade in the middle of the living room.
I'd pay to watch.
I would too. It's the Cowboys. It's going to be an S show no matter what.
I mean, $60 million for Dak Prescott, or $40 million for Justin Fields.
Which is worse?
Yeah.
60 for Dak.
Yeah. How far apart are you on those?
Not too far. It's tougher. It's an overpay no matter what you're looking at. Like none of those would be good. Yeah. But at least you have $20 million extra to pay somebody else to be good.
Yeah. We were talking about coaches realizing things earlier in the show about the understanding of who they are and what they are. I wonder, with the implications of the CBA for particularly the NFL and the NBA and where they're going and how much money is truly available, but also the ramifications and punishments for getting it wrong. I don't think we've seen an organization yet have the balls to say no to a quarterback. Have we yet? I mean, the closest you can say is maybe Cousins.
Well, but that was
tagging him
after they
over and over and over.
Tagged
and over.
him 3 years in a row, and then he just said, "Deuces,
I'm out of here." But that's what I mean. Like, do you think an organization is going to get to that point and just say,
well, I think
no?
Seattle trading Russ was that point.
But there were signs of like legitimate.
Well, they said you need to restructure, get out, and then Denver said you need to restructure or you're out. But as far as just letting a guy walk in free agency, no, we don't see it. That's why Daniel Jones got the albatross of a deal that he got.
And that's what I'm wondering if we eventually get there, because this story and the Jones story, I think, are going to kind of be the
NFC East, baby.
The torchbearers for dumb. All right, coming up, we'll put a nice little bow on today's show before we hand you over to Isaac Astute, coming up here next on Danny and Dusty, Danny the Fan.
26 years ago on this date, The Big Lebowski premiered in theaters.
What a great movie. A classic.
Classic.
The Big Lebowski, The Dude Abides. So many great lines from that movie, and it stands the test of time.
I'll throw a little chaos grenade in here. It's a okay movie.
God, you're an animal. What is wrong with you?
Okay movie.
What don't you like about The Big Lebowski?
It's just kind of meh.
Over the line!
It is over the line. It's the greatest bowling movie of all time.
I don't know. Kingpin's pretty good.
Better than Kingpin.
Better than Kingpin.
Better than Kingpin.
Bill Murray, man.
It's a movie about a rug. It's got everything that you could want in it. White
Really tied
Russians.
the room together.
Nihilus. Flea is in it, for God's sakes.
Bill
as
Murray.
a nihilist.
Kingpin.
Yeah.
John Goodman.
Sam Elliott.
Steve Buscemi.
Yeah.
John Turturro.
Jesus.
I didn't say it was a bad movie. I never understood why it's
The
a
whites, dude. The dirty Lundies.
It's a lot like what people right now talking about Dune 2. It was a good movie.
No, but
it was
here's
not
the
a movie that
difference.
reshaped cinema.
No, and that's true. But you're saying Kingpin is?
No,
It's better than Kingpin.
I just think that they're on the same par of movie.
No, what makes The Big Lebowski great is that the twists and turns when the first time you see it, you're like, what the hell am I watching?
It
and then
insists upon
every
itself.
time you rewatch it, it gets better and better, and you have more nuggets that in the kernels that come out of it. It's an all-timer. An all-timer. I will have none of this saying that The Big Lebowski is overrated. It is properly rated as one of the
insists
great
upon
movies.
itself.
There's
That's
a
what it
thing called
is.
Lebowski Fest. Ever heard of it? Lebowski Fest is annually, they throw a big damn party at the bowling alley in L.A. where it was filmed, and people dress up in all their little cosplay, and they drink their White Russians, and they roll the rock, man.
Congratulations, you have L.A. Florida Man games.
Yes, they do. It's fantastic. It's a great movie. And I will hear none of this. It's not a great movie. I don't
think it's great. I think it's probably fine.
I don't know. You cannot besmirch the Coen brothers.
No, Coen Brothers they put out banger after banger after banger.
Nah.
You have not given one reason why it is not a great movie.
It's not
It is
great.
funny. It's got
but
drama.
It's not that funny.
It's got Philip Seymour Hoffman as Brandt.
That's the thing is I think everything about it's over sensationalized. It's a good movie.
Get
It's
you
not
a toe.
It's not great.
Toe by the end of the day. Cummer, you are, dude. Cummer, you are. You're not wrong, Walter. You're just an. See?
It's a good line.
Everything. Walter's speech when Donnie dies and he throws the Folgers can and the dude's just sitting there and goes, "Really, man?" And there's nothing else I can say after that.
Yeah.
He gives a speech about Vietnam and then throws his buddy's ashes all over his other friend. Gold.
Again,
Gold.
I'm just saying it's a bad